Cheers, queers! What's on the big gay agenda today, Theora?
Today we are continuing our epic scene-by-scene breakdown of Blank the Series, and today we will be doing some portion of the final episode, Season 2, Episode 6. How much we'll get done, we don't know. I have a women's national soccer team final to get to, because my team is in the titles, so we'll see how much we can accomplish today. You will get this after the final results. Will I be happy? Will I be sad? Who knows?
I think you're gonna be happy.
I hope so. Marta deserves a fucking gold medal or some kind of finalist award. She's like the actual best soccer player in the world, and she's on the Pride, and so like I just
Isn't like the
win.
star of Washington like injured too? Like she's still playing, but
maybe
like
I don't know
because she's not in the national team. Rodman's on
Trinity.
Washington.
Trinity Rodman. Damn, that makes me sad. I love her.
Yeah,
I know. Gonna be like 500
she's still
years.
playing. She's still. I know. But again, she's still playing. But apparently, she's coming off injury.
Right. So. If you have a favorite team or favorite sport, let us know below. We just want to know.
Mine's Gotham. I miss Kelly already. Anyway,
okay. Before we jump into all of this, I first want to address a comment we got on YouTube by Snakes Not Eyes. So basically, they left us a comment with some concern about like the podcast and our like learning of Thai culture and stuff as we've been going along this journey. So we want to thank you for sending us your thoughts and feelings, and we really appreciate the comment. And we fully acknowledge our shortcomings when it comes to dissecting non-American specifically based media, because we grew up in America and that's our bias. So our lens of the world is like white Americans. Yes, we're in the LGBTQ community, but like our life experience does skew how we view media. And when we're doing this podcast, a lot of it is us reading the media for what it is, like reading a book, and kind of dissecting what like the cast is showing us, what the crew is telling us by their different pieces of the puzzle. And we're trying to put that together to see what the artists are telling us. So there are going to be things we missed just because of our life experience, and we fully acknowledge that. That being said, we are on a journey to learn more and be better, and we appreciate each and every one of you that have corrected us and given us more insight into the show itself, Thai culture, and aspects of Blank we just didn't realize we missed, because sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and so we fully acknowledge that. So Snakes Not Eyes suggested we add a new section to our episode to address corrections and comments. So we're going to do that going forward. So thank you again for leaving your comment and for making the podcast better. And like, hopefully we can all learn something together, kind of like as we learn from each other, because that's what community does, right? So, all right. So first we're going to start with Wanasorn, because at this point we have met with the glorious screenwriter who helped adapt like the series into the series itself. And like, just want to, hi, if you're still watching, we love you. You're amazing and brilliant. And I love your artistic style and how you think about things. But I want to address, was Montessori corrected, one of my clowneries, and I will own this one fully. So when it comes to the episode where Big Nueng gifts Little Nueng the bracelet before her exam, it was not a jasmine flower. Because I was like, what's native to Thailand? It wasn't. It was simpler than that. It was a 4-leaf clover for good luck before the test. So I was right that Big Nueng assigned meaning to the gift and was thoughtful about what she was giving. However, I was wrong about the flower. So thank you, Wanasorn, for correcting me on that one. Like, it's so cute either way.
This one, she's like, you read too much into everything.
Yes, that's my job. That's why we're here. We're not going to be right all the time. This is a clown show half the time. We're just doing our best as audience members to read what's on the screen, whether it's there or not. At least we weren't full out shipping the grandmothers right out the gate.
No, that came when I was making the murder board.
Yeah, and just shipping grandmothers comes later. Because our mission is to make everything even more gay. So, like, there you go. It's fine.
That's the gay agenda, right?
The gay agenda. So that's why we're here. So thank you, Wanasorn. Wanasorn corrected us a lot more. So, like, that was just a sample. So if you watch our, we're at some point going to post the parts of the interview with Wanasorn, so you can learn more from the creator themselves. So anyway, thank you, Wanasorn. It was still cute. Anyway, I love it. Anyway, so we're going to go through YouTube. So we have Rora Mealy. If I say your name's wrong, I'm super sorry. I'm just trying to figure out names off of YouTube.
Roha Ramli. That is my version of it.
Okay. So this YouTube Uber writes, just an insight of Southeast Asian culture. It's a common thing for majority of parents and elderlies, like aunties, uncles, relatives, will keep asking girls/women when they are going to get married and or if they have a boyfriend every time they meet for family gatherings. That used to happen to me. That's the Italian culture does that shit too. And if they don't have anybody, then these relatives will want to introduce someone to them. Happened to me a lot before. That's why these days most Asian women are quite reluctant to go to these gatherings. I feel that so hard.
I mean, I wonder why.
Yeah. That's a lot. They just start pressuring the women to get married. Like, yeah, that's sounds exhausting. So Little Nog was probably going through that. That's what she was going through with the family. So thank you for that insight. My Italian culture does that shit too, and it's fucking annoying. I don't see my relatives for that reason also. But I feel you on that. I'm like, it was very satisfying to be like, I married a woman. Leave me alone now. And then I stopped getting asked those questions. Okay. Harukara84 wrote on our episode 204 recap, Fi mentioned she bruised her toe and she kicked the car. I feel so bad for her. Why is she always getting injured? She always goes for realism. I'm like, damn, girl, like, protect yourself. You don't have to actually kick the car.
You don't actually have to suffer for your art.
No, but she does. She goes for realism a lot. Like, poor thing. Okay. Then we have Yamaka SD. This was on the season 2, episode 3 recap. This was about the scene where Little Nueng's with Yui, and when Yui's like, oh, who you in love with? And Little Nueng panics and says, PB Bilkin. Okay, so this was about that. So PP and Bilkin are two separate people. The Boy Love series are known for its I Told Sunset About You is the name of the series, which has an influence on blank the series, according to the screenwriter. Oh, damn, I forgot to ask Montessori about this. Montessori, let us know on Twitter. Okay, she said P1, the 9-star studio CEO, briefed her that P1 wanted the vibe from that show. Sorry, there's the abbreviation. Also, P1 is a PB Bilkin shipper, so that's probably why she added it to Little Nueng's line. Honestly, girl, relatable. Just be like, throwing my ships out into the universe. That's so relatable. I love that.
That's why we throw Fi into everything.
Fi's in everything now. But we just can't help it. We just want more of her in stuff. Because
between Fi and Jim. Jim was the
Jim,
OG.
Jim is the character of dreams, the agent of chaos that needs to be everything. But like, okay, Fi needs more work because the woman's a brilliant actor. Put her everywhere. Jim just needs to be in stuff as comic relief because things need to be funnier. Anyway, the comment continues. It was random, but not random. We can imply that Little Nueng pretends to, in air quotes, ship them so that Yui wouldn't suspect her relationship with Big Nueng, but Yui has no idea. Yeah, Yui's just so confused. Yeah, she's like, what the fuck is this? Anyway, thank you for clarifying that. Okay, then we have Yuki T14 on the 202 recap. Fi was the winner of Miss Grand Thailand in 2016, as well as the runner-up for Miss Grand International that same year. She had acted in several shows and movies before blank. She was also a manager for Miss Grand Thailand for a few years as well. Like, damn, that's a lot. Okay, this was basically us being like, what did they do before they were actors and not knowing. I think this is the clarifying of that. Yoko was in a girl group for a while, but she has been acting since she was a child, doing commercials, series, and movies. Fun fact.
I saw something of when she was little.
Oh, she was little? I saw something when she was little too. It was really cute.
It was adorable.
Okay, so this was on episode 202. So there's the scene where they go in the bathroom and the bird's in there and they do the kiss and then they come out and they scare the woman in the bathroom. Fun fact, the lady in the bathroom is one of the 9-star staff members. And then it just laughs. That's really funny. Okay, now go be traumatized in the bathroom, but the actor's like, damn.
It's like, we need someone.
What a cameo. Yeah. I do
like
that.
This will make the scene funnier and more interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, you, like, what are you doing? Get in there.
Right? Like, imagine being like the accountant and they're like, get in this scene. Like, you know what I mean? They just have random job has nothing to do with this. That's amazing. I love that. Keep it in the family, 9-star. I respect that. Okay, that's all for YouTube that I have. We have a lot more comments, but like, thank you all. These were the ones that were most like clarifying and fit the theme of this new section. So thank you all. Then I just want to give a couple from Patreon. So Nancy, friend of the podcast since forever, Nancy, love you. Mentioned, because we were talking about the episode where Big Nueng breaks every traffic law in Thailand to get to Little Nueng, who's in Hua Hin. And we're like, how long would this take her to do? Well, Little Nueng's missing. So apparently the drive from Hua Hin to from Bangkok, where Big Nueng was, is 3.5 hours. So this bitch Again, it's like, I suspect where Little Nueng is, tells no one, and then drives 3.5 hours to go get her. Big Nueng. That was so dramatic. I love it. Okay, that's his 3.5 hour car drive specifically. Like, damn, she was determined. So it was probably like 3 a.m. when she got there, and I was like, "What the hell are you doing here?" Anyway, okay. Then last one from Patreon, we have BJL. This was talking about the season 1 finale recap, and this was talking specifically about the scene where the grandmam dies, and then Big Nueng and Sam get into that argument outside, the one where Mon has to stop and be like, "Leave my wife alone, Big Nueng. Get out of here." Apparently what Big Nueng was doing outside the funeral was considered sacrilegious. So, like, not only was she being rude to Sam, but, like, disrespectful from, like, a religious, cultural standpoint. So, like, damn. Damn, Big Nueng. When she goes hard, is what I'm saying.
And everything.
Everything. That's why she's Big Nueng. It's not. Okay, also, like, there's a comment that I think the original commenter mentioned something about, like, the nicknames. We nickname everybody in every TV show. It's not exclusive to, like, Thai media. We do just, like, nickname characters. That it usually means we like them. Like, for example, we're doing Heartstopper right now, and we call one of the characters Olivia Colman, even though that's not the character's name, because we love the character so much. We just call the character Olivia Colman because we love Olivia Colman.
I think that comment was towards the loyal pin with Koa being called an STD.
We also call Kua an STD because we hate him. But yeah, anyway, we just nickname
When
characters.
they make us feel something, they get a nickname.
Yes, they get nicknames. Like Jim, the best character ever. And, like, we call ourselves Loyal Pricks because we love Prick from the Loyal Pin. Anyway. Thank you. If you have any other corrections or anything, please let us know. We'll give you a shout out at the beginning of our episodes when we do our corrections clownery section. So we appreciate it. Like, we're not experts. We're doing our best, but, like, we're just here to have fun. And we own the fact that we're clowns half the time. That's totally fine. All right. Any other announcements before we move on? Or just go?
Nah, just go.
All right. So let's get into the episode proper. So I think we picked up at part 2 of, like, in the YouTube. So some amount of time passes, and Big Nueng is having a gay old time in the kitchen in the Bua Palace. It's like a brand new day. She's a brand new woman. Like, she's up and about, first of all. She's dressed, her hair's all done, got her makeup on. She's looking good and, like, alive. Like, not just, like, sobbing endlessly in a dark room, clutching a stuffed animal. Like, she looks like she's living life again, which is huge. And she's in the kitchen cooking with the ancestors, basically. No recipe, nothing. She's just cooking with the ancestors. And I love that.
That's a great way to put it. But
She's
we can already...
That is enough chili. Yes, thank you, ancestors. I get that. I get that kind of cooking. I'm that kind of cooker. My wife is not. Today, actually, she has to cook something. And I wrote the recipe, and I'm like, a lightly salt and pepper this. And she's like, what does that mean? I'm like, what do you mean? You just, like, look at it, taste it. No, can't do that.
Give me the measurement. That's why I can bake and I can't cook.
Sometimes, like, it's like, I don't know what the amounts are going to look like because she had to go buy the vegetables. And I'm like, well, I don't know what the amount's going to be to give you a measurement. It depends. Anyway, Big Nueng gets me. So,
oh no,
I'm with her.
I'm with her.
I'm with her.
So already we see that Big Nueng has a ton more knife skills than Little Nueng, because she is cutting these peppers on a bias and they look so good. They're uniform. They're perfect.
I know. Again, she's cooking with the ancestors. They've been doing this for a long, long time. Poor Little Nueng was probably never allowed in the kitchen, so it's not her fault. She got to learn somewhere. I really want them to cook together. That would have been a cute scene.
It would. I have it later. We don't get to see it, but it's my theory.
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay, all right. So while Big Nueng's doing this, the song playing in the background in this scene is the exact same song that played when Little Nueng was having her heart-to-heart with Auntie Nim in the kitchen, having the cooking lesson, which is really cute. And I think, like, signifies that, like, not only is Big Nueng cooking with the ancestors, but she, like, feels close to Little Nueng, because we come to see, like, what she's cooking is the exact same curry that she made for Little Nueng back in season 1, when Little Nueng was like, I'm going to college, things will be fine. I'll still come over and eat. And she was making that curry, the one she threw in the trash for some reason. Because it was like, rejection! I can taste it. So she throws it away. She's making the same meal because like she feels close to Little Nueng in the scene, which is really cute. So then I assume that this morning when she's doing this in the kitchen, it's probably the first time Big Nueng has woken up and like was doing things since the accident happened. Because when Auntie Nim comes into the kitchen, she looks so surprised at what she sees. And then like she's like, oh, and then she looks like ecstatic, like so happy that like Big Nueng's up and about and then like cooking. Like, wow. This
She's
must be
probably been
like,
so worried about her too. It was just
oh my
like,
god,
thank
yeah.
God.
No, I'm confident she's the one that tipped off Sam that like something is wrong. And so, because they're basically like family adjacent. So yeah, I imagine this was like a relief for Auntie Nim. And so Auntie Nim's like, oh my god, what you doing, Nueng? This looks good. And then Big Nueng explains that she's making green curry for Little Nueng. Which I mentioned. It's just what I'm pretty sure this is exactly what she makes. Like the ingredients look the same. And that was the night of the famous Juan Viva fight in 105. Anyway, before the Grand Mam died. Which is kind of sad now that I think about it, because the Grand Mam is definitely haunting that palace and she's making the food. Anyway. All right, so Big Nueng explains her logic to Auntie Nim. She's like, well, if I make this food and Little Nueng smells the food, then she'll wake up because she'll be like Big Nueng and want to wake up and have dinner with me because she promised she'd have dinner with me, right? Which is such a sweet sentiment. And then when when Big Nueng is explaining that, she's like smiling, so she seems hopeful again, which again is not where we left her in the aftermath of the accident. So good progress on her part.
No, it's so nice to be able to see her being hopeful while everything else is terrible right now. Because again, there is that flight response where she like does go to a bad place and try to block everything out, but now this is her still trying. Like she still knows that things are bad, but has hope. And it's also nice that the kitchen seems to be a safe place now for her and doesn't cause the regression like we see in her as the rest of the palace does. So like now she can be happy in the kitchen because I mean that's where the love of her life cooked for her. Like and it was for the first time in her life and it was for her. So like this kitchen now means a lot to her.
Yeah. And like throughout the whole show, and like Lana Soren said, like food is her love language also. It's a big love language for Nueng. So I think there's a lot of love happening in this room for all the reasons we kind of pointed out. So it's like I like that it's rubbing off on her and making her like cheerful again, which is huge.
Mm-hmm.
I assume off screen someone filled Auntie Nim on what happened to Little Nueng, because like Auntie Nim was just like, Nueng looks weird. Nueng's not okay. And so like I assume like something happened, but like she has to know because like I mean Little Nueng's not showing up, which like she basically lived there, so it must have been weird. But I wonder who told her. Who do you think? Did Big Nueng divulge this information to Auntie Nim, or did like Sam fill Auntie Nim on what happened to Little Nueng?
Okay. So, from what we saw previously, there is no way Big Nueng was capable of telling Auntie Nim what was happening, especially like not even like when she became hopeful again, because Auntie Nim was surprised to see this.
That's fair.
But also, how would Sam know if Big Nueng doesn't tell her?
I wonder if like when Sam was over consoling Big Nueng, either Sam put two and two together or like Nueng mumbled something. You know what I mean? Something incoherent about Little Nueng, and then like Sam probably sent her spies out. I was like, oh. Sam probably called Pinkfa. She's like, who the fuck are your friends? And like, or Juan Viva, who's probably at that hospital.
Yeah,
No, that's a HIPAA violation.
The basis of my theory is that Sam played 20 questions with her until she could piece together what happened.
Yeah.
And then with this info, she relays it to Auntie Nim because that's the family.
Yeah. No, that tracks. Sam's also nosy enough that she would like, be the one that'd be like, no, but really, what? Adrian would have to like kind of leave it alone. Okay. All right. So Big Nung finishes her cooking project and then packs it all up and then arrives to the hospital to enact her plan. And she lingers outside of Little Nung's room for a minute and like before she goes in and kind of peeks through the window. And I wonder if she's lingering because of the family, obviously, because like, where do we leave it? They're like, you're trash, Nung, get out of here. So like that they didn't end on great terms. Or I wonder if it's like it could be partially that. It could be a multitude of things. It's that, and then I think maybe it's also like she can finally see Little Nung. Okay, so even if she goes in there and gets kicked out, like it's a moment of peace to just see her uninterrupted. Also, and like Big Nung's the type of person, again, the 3.5-hour drive to Hua Hin. She has to see her with her own eyes and like touch Little Nung to like know for sure everything's fine, right? Because she's the one that overthinks everything. So like I think this is a moment of like, this is real. She's still alive kind of thing. Before she enters, she like gently knocks on the door and to alert the family. And it's Pinkfa this time is who she's going to run into. And Pinkfa is like sitting in the same spot we left her in, which is literally right next to Little Nung, like as close as physically possible. Like that's Pinkfa. Pinkfa has not left that position. And unfortunately, the grandmother is still there, but she's sitting where we left Chet last time. Chet's gone. So she's off to the side. And why isn't Chet there? Because it's Chet. Of course he's not going to stick around.
Because he hasn't figured out how to make himself the main character of the situation yet.
Yeah, he's probably like, well, there's literally nothing for me to do here. Call me when she wakes up. I'm sure he has to work, but like, I hate him.
Does he have to work? We never see him work.
Right. He works the way Sam works, which is lets other people work. He doesn't have a mon, so I don't know how he's doing it.
Mm-mm.
All right, so Big Nung tries to be polite as polite as humanly possible, but it's like ice baby in there because like she's enemy number one. Everyone's like, you're the reason we're all here, and like partially true. We go all the way back to when her and Pinkfo were children. This is Big Nung's fault, but not for the reasons they're blaming her. It is technically Big Nung's fault. All right, so the grandmother who has dubbed Big Nung Satan immediately gets into it with her immediately, and the grandmother like, okay, and then she's like, bitch, you're not needed here. And it's like nobody is actually needed here. Like Little Nung just needs to like recover. Like nobody is actually helping the situation. We're all just like hovering basically. So that aside, the grandmother is like, listen, I raised Little Nung all by myself. It's just her and me. We don't need anybody else. And that's kind of like the grandmother's headspace, right? She's like reverting back to like, it's us against the world. Again, like casting off her daughter who's in the corner. Always making slights at Pinkfa, like always.
She doesn't know that she's even there.
Just listen, yeah, exactly. But basically, again, she's doing what Chet does, where it's like I am not sharing my daughter's love with anybody, even though like the daughter is like, get out of here. But the grandmother's doing kind of the same thing. She's like, Little One doesn't have room in her life for anybody else, just me, kind of thing. Which that was the controlling environment, so she's kind of cling to that now when things are getting desperate. And just again, poor Pinkfa in the corner listening to this, like, okay. But the thing is, like, Big Nung does understand where the grandmother's coming from because, like, she was also raised basically by her grandmother. Like, yeah, she does. I think she was probably at an age where she kind of remembers her parents, but like most of her formative years, I imagine, were like the grandmother heavily impacted that. And so, while they loved each other, they had that twisted relationship, and like, I think she understands this sentiment. So Big Nung is like, listen, I get all that, but I'm here to ask you for mercy because like she's worried about her girlfriend and just wants to be near her the way like again, none of you are helping the situation. You're not helping Little Nung recover, you're just there. And so like Big Nung's like, I also just want to be here for her. It has nothing to do with you. Please just do me this kindness and let me just see her. And the grandmother tells her to fuck off, basically. So Big Nung has to clarify. She's like, listen, I'm not here to fight you or cause a scene. Remember last time you slapped me? I'm not here to repeat any of that. Like, she's like, I'm literally here because I love Little Nung. And like, she's like, that's my crime. My crime is that I'm in love with her. Wow. Arrest me now, I suppose. And subconsciously, like, Big Nung proves her point because as she's saying that, when she finishes this, she looks over at Little Nueng and like her expression completely softens. Like she's kind of like got her walls up because like again, people want to attack her. But then when she sees Little Nueng, it kind of like the vulnerability starts coming back because she's not used to having a mask around Little Nueng. Like she's gotten used to not doing that, not performing that kind of stuff. So it's like a reflex when she sees her to like stop performing so much. Not that she was like being dishonest or anything in the scene. It's more so like defensive walls because of the situation, right? And she says it again. She's like, I'm here for Little Nueng. Like, that's why I'm here. I'm not here to fight you. I forgot you guys were even here. Like, I'm here for her. Like, come on now.
Wait, do you think that Big Nun walked in like, oh shit, yeah, she has family?
Probably. She opened the door. Well, I mean, she did knock. She's like, ah. That's probably she looked in the room. She's like, here we go again, I guess. I wonder if she plays that off later. She's like, yeah, no, I made the food for you guys. She definitely did it. But she tries to play it off like, yeah, it's for you. It's not for you. It's for her. Anyway. What a good cover. I made you food. Anyway, but it's too late because the grandmother has already cast Nueng as the villain in the story, and she's not ready to relinquish that because to relinquish that would be to acknowledge all the fuckery that this entire family played in this situation. Okay, it's easier to just blame the outsider Big Nueng than to like look inward and be like, maybe I should have done that. All right. So Big Nueng mentions like the heart of it all. She's like, yeah, I understand at this point. I've completely demolished all the trust you had in me, which she knew this was going to happen once the family found out about the relationship. And it's now going to take time to repair that if it can even be repaired at all. Like that was the thing she was very afraid of happening was like the trust being shattered. Because like she needs some level of trust for them to accept the relationship, right? But like, to your point that you keep bringing out, Kaitlynn, right now, the family's feelings is not what's important. What's important is Little Nueng's well-being because she's in a critical condition and like, will she make it out alive or not? Like that's what's important, not like your feelings right now. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry.
Yeah, the grandmother is way too focused on Big Nueng being here rather than like, okay, what's going on with my granddaughter? She should really just be ignoring her.
I mean, yeah. Okay, and then like from Big Nueng's perspective, she's like, okay, this situation's really shitty with the family, but like being away from Little Nueng is worse than like being in this position with the family. So she's doing her best to convince them to like take this curry that she made, like the metaphorical olive branch, right? In the hopes that Little Nueng will recover because it gets tearing Big Nueng up to like watch this keep going. And like I understand that the emotions are high for everybody in this room because of that big unknown. Like, will she make it? Will she not? Everybody's on edge. Like, totally understandable. Like, your loved one is in a life-threatening situation. I understand that. But like, let's acknowledge Big Nueng is also feeling all these things that you're feeling, but you know, they cast her as the unfeeling villain or whatever. But like, she's like, come on, like this might help, kind of thing. So she's like, I'm trying to do everything I can. Please just let me help. And she says, like, I can't stand watching her lying down like this anymore. And from Big Nueng, like, her actions and what she's doing now, it's all coming from this place of love. She says, I truly love Little Nueng. And she does. But like they're in this situation now where like to quote Heartstopper, like love can't fix this this problem that we're in. And the people that we're dealing with right now, a lot of them, minus Pinkfa, are like control freaks, okay? Because like the grandmother's a control freak, right? We've established that, and so is Big Nueng. Like Big Nueng likes being in control in like all the ways, and this situation is out of everybody's control. Like it's really just up to like Little Nueng's body and like to recover or not. Like that's kind of where we're at right now. It's like medical intervention wise, there's really nothing we can do. Like she just needs supportive care while she recovers, and there's not much the family members can really do except watch this play out. So that's
Which
hard.
Pinkfa does accept though, because she's always good at accepting just like what's coming towards her. Because she just sits there and takes it. And like that's the issue with her mom because she doesn't have that fight in her to stand up for herself. So she's just so used to taking everything that comes at her. So she's just like, okay, this is what it is. We'll see what tomorrow brings.
I mean, well, yeah, I'm glad you brought up Pinkfa because, like, what was Pinkfa's situation? Pinkfa had this thing happen outside of her control, thanks, Big Nueng, where she sought out Chet, got pregnant, out of her control, and then what happened next was also out of her control because the mother stepped in and was like, I'm taking the child, sending you away. Pinkva's life has never been in her own control. What was in control for Pinkva is when she finally went away. And like now she's like, I'm choosing my husband. I have my own job. Like I chose my life now. But then when she comes back to Thailand, it's like all of her choice gets taken away from her. So she's more equipped to deal with situations where like things happen outside of her control. So she's used to coping with that. Unfortunately, that was her childhood trauma, right? But like Big Nueng and the grandmother don't have those coping skills. So like they kind of fall apart. But Big Nueng's gone on this journey with Little Nueng of learning emotional intelligence and how to cope with her feelings in a mature way. That's what we see her doing in the scene. But the grandmother probably didn't have that training. So what does she do? Let me attack Big Nueng because it's easier than me dealing with my feelings. I'm just going to throw my anger onto you because that's easier to do. That's the most emotionally immature thing to do in this situation. Because like nobody can control this and they're all freaking out basically, and they're dealing with it their different ways. Pinkva's just sitting there handling it. The grandmother's attacking Nueng, and Nueng's like, I'm trying to do something that I can control, which is like bring her food and hope that helps, and just like support her through this, which is really all you can do in this situation. Yeah. So again, the cooking was a way for Big Nueng to like get control of the situation because she's controlling what she can and doing what she can for her partner in the situation, which is like support her through it, despite the family who's trying to like burn her at the stake, essentially. Okay. So really at the heart of it, the grandmother really, the thing is like, she doesn't want to accept Big Nueng and Little Nueng's relationship for what it is. Like that's the heart of it. And she's like, to accept all that, I have to accept my granddaughter's a sexual deviant and she's into you. And like, this woman has never liked Nueng, never. She tolerated her because of the title and that's it. And the money, and she's like the status, she's like, that's all great. But I really hate Nueng. If you go back to like whatever dinner, the first time they had Big Nueng over for dinner, and the grandmother's like asked her questions, and Big Nueng's honestly answering these questions to be like, I didn't even finish school and shit like that. And the grandmother's like, God, I really don't like you. Like, she does not like Nueng.
Yeah.
So she's like, get the fuck out of here, Nueng. You're useless to me, basically.
And this happens right after Big Nueng tells them once again that she loves Little Nueng.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if it's getting harder for them, and I mean, I say them, but it's really the grandmother.
And Chet.
Yeah.
Who's not here, though, but yeah, those two.
To accept that Big Nueng is the villain because she keeps saying that she loves Little Nueng. Like, how can someone be a villain if they just love the person that you love? And the grandmother is just trying to hold on to the fact that Big Nueng's a villain. And like, she doesn't even want to hear any explanations from Big Nueng. She doesn't want that view to change because that means, first of all, she was wrong.
Dang.
And it would change the entire situation in her head. And there's too much going on right now to even think about having that.
Yes. Okay, so then the other thing that happens is Big Nueng does show them, like, she has to, like, okay, so Big Nueng the whole time has been an action person, like, getting Little Nueng the bracelet. Like, she does things to show that she loves people, right? To show her feelings. Because, like, she has struggled, like Sam, to, like, verbalize her feelings. She's gotten a hell of a lot better at it now, but, like, her first instinct is to do, not say kind of thing. So what she's going to do, starting now, when the grandmother tells her leave, Big Nueng says no. She starts doing this thing, which is to show her love through persistence. Okay, that seems to be like a valued trait in love that we've seen kind of in television shows play out over and over again. This that like Chet was doing, where he's like, no, I'll keep persisting no matter what to prove to you that I love you or whatever. And it's like this persistence gets equated with love. So Big Nueng starts doing that, where she like keeps coming back despite them saying no, and keeps doing things over and over again until they like finally like wear down and like, okay. The way Little Nueng wore her down, she's like, oh my God, I guess, cling onto my arm, Jesus, I guess. So she's gonna start doing that to be so they can't ignore it, right? Okay. So then Big Nueng basically is like, I'm not leaving because I love her. I'm not leaving. So the grandmother says my favorite line in this whole argument, which is, I'm trying to keep my manners here, which I think is code for like, bitch, I'm about to slap your ass. I'm about to slap you again.
I think it's code for don't test me, bitch.
Which I love because again, this woman is Miss Manners. So what a threat that was. So I love that, the polite threat. And at some point during this Big Nung grandmother showdown. It cuts over to Pingfa, who's like again sitting by Little Nung, supporting her daughter, while she's quietly watching these two women politely duke it out. And it's clear that her mother is getting to her breaking point, like with this line. And she's like crying too. Like she's getting really upset, doesn't know how to handle her emotions. She's probably gonna attack Nung. And the last thing Little Nung needs, the person we're all here for, is like a bar fight in the middle of her hospital room between these two titans, right?
That is not gonna help her wake up.
No,
She's
like
gonna
again,
wake up, hear it, and be like, go back into a coma.
right. Where she's having dreams about Nung. So yeah, she definitely wants to be in her dreamland with Big Nung right now, not whatever the hell this is. All right, so again, keep in mind, Pingfa's watching the shit go down. And I assume Pingfa is being triggered right now, which I think is why she like cowers in silence for most of this scene, because I'm sure she's been on the receiving end of one too many of her mother's emotional outbursts. Think about it. She's an elderly woman who still can't handle her emotions. What was she like when she was younger and Pingfa was a child? Probably just like this, but stronger. So I'm sure Pingfa is getting like war flashbacks from her childhood probably right now. And that's why she's like being quiet and small in the corner.
I think a part of her is also impressed by Big Nung for saying these things to her mother.
Yeah.
Because she didn't have the courage to do it when Little Nung was a baby, so she could be her mother. And
yeah.
Also, like I mentioned earlier, Big Nung is now taking the fight stance when it comes to their relationship. Little Nung would be so proud if she was aware of what was going on, because this is such a big deal for Big Nung.
Wait, imagine if Little Nung just spontaneously woke out of the coma right now. She'd be like, kiss me. I'm so hot right now. I'm like, what the hell? She'd be so into this right now. I'm not going to lie.
She would be smiling.
She'd be thrilled. She'd be like, mother, grandmother, please leave us.
Okay. But like in this, I was trying to figure out where my next note went with this. So Big Nung is taking the fight stance, while Pingfa did choose the flight path, or really we're doing fight or flight. I think she was more likely the freeze path, where she just did as she was told because of the trauma inflicted by her mother. Like if she were to try anything else, she was most likely berated and probably abused as well, because we did see her hit Little Nung. And this whole situation is probably triggering for her because it's basically the same thing that happened to her. And like obviously not the same circumstances, but like Little Nung is basically being banished to America right now.
Literally. No, this is history repeating itself. Like the family's banishing her to America. It's like literally what happened to Pingfa. And Pingfa's the one being like, well, on the bright side, it worked out for me, but like the trauma it did cause her, I'm sure.
Yeah. And like I think the whole thing with sending Little Nung to the US, it probably does have an effect on her, and like she probably is like, maybe it's not the best, but she's holding to the fact that she does get to have her daughter, and that's the big thing for her. So she's like,
her.
I want to be selfish this one time so I can have her.
Yeah, it's true. She was robbed of so much. Yeah, I feel bad for Pingfa a lot.
Okay, justice for Pingfa. I want to go back and see the reactions to Pingfa in the beginning, because we have come such a long way with her.
I mean, it was jarring to meet Pingfa in 104 because that was a hot mess to like meet anybody in, and she was out for revenge against beloved Big Nung in that scene. Like that was the point of the initial scene.
Her karaoke song is vigilante shit.
Oh yeah. She was out for revenge against our Big Nung. So like we're gonna be upset when our characters
we were
get
upset
attacked.
by that. Yeah, but there's so much more going on with her, and she's so fascinating. Much better.
Yeah. All right. So let's back to this argument. So the grandmother in this scenario really has no argument. So she just, instead of like introspection, she blames Nung for everything. She's like, the car accident's your fault, Nung, even though you weren't there. So Big Nung then decides, okay, now's the time to like really get to the truth. Because think about it. The last time we were in this scenario and Big Nung was really getting blamed, it was Chet and Pingfa that were like smacking down on Nung about everything. And Big Nung was like, slow your roll. I just loved her. You guys caused her emotional damage that she's gonna need a therapist for the rest of her life. Why are you looking at me? We're here because of you guys. You guys tried to send her away and she didn't want to go. Did you think about that? So last time the grandmother was spared of this bullshit. So now Big Nung's like, no, no, no. All right, let's get to the truth of this. I'm gonna force you to do some introspection. So she points out the fact that, like, I think we're here right now, Your Honor, because you were the ones that were forcing her to go to America when she didn't want to go. Like, and it's like, again, grandmother, because Big Nun was like, remember when you took the phone away when she was on the phone crying because she didn't want to leave and was like gonna end her life and shit, and you brushed it off? Remember that? You were there. You saw that she was miserable and chose to continue with this plan. Like, is that not why we're here? Was that not a red flag to you that she's not okay and was going to escape this because she didn't want to be in it? And it's like they all were complicit in the fact that Little Nung was miserable and they all saw it. Except Chet, because I'm sure he had no idea she was upset because he doesn't pay attention to her. And then Big Nung says the saddest line that's also funny later when Little Nung wakes up. And the truth of it all is she says, like, maybe it's better for Little Nung to live in her dreams rather than wake up to face reality. Like, the truth of that hurts so badly. And she's basically saying, like, if this is how you're going to treat her, she's probably better off in her dreams. And, like, literally, this was her entire life up until she met Big Nung, right? All she did was, like, escape into dreams and media and, like, tried to go to that market just to get away from her grandmother for a little bit and find some peace, right? That's how she found Big Nung. And I love that Big Nung tells them straight up that, like, none of you listen to this girl and listen to what she wants. Nobody listens to her. And so, like, you can't blame the one person that, like, listened to her and tried to, like, be a safe space for her. And I hate to say it, but I do wish Chet was here to hear this part of the argument that Big Nung's making, even though he wouldn't actually listen even if he's in the room, because, like, he needs to hear this shit too. But you know,
I mean, again, I don't even know how you would get him to listen because he doesn't listen when you talk directly to him.
he really doesn't. It's amazing. It's
I don't know
amazing.
how you would get through to him.
I don't know. I don't know that you can. He has to. He has to do it. He has to want to. That's the problem. He doesn't want to. All right. So towards the end of this conversation, the camera cuts back to Pingfa. And I think Pingfa at this point has had, because remember, Pingfa and Chat have already heard this side of Nung's argument where she's like, we all played a role in this, mostly you guys. And I think and she witnessed Big Nung, like, break down at the end where she's like, why can't you just let us love each other? So I think Pingfa's had time to really process what, Big Nung's actual feelings about her daughter. And I think she's more receptive to this argument that Big Nung has presented to them, where she's like, maybe look on the inside and look at your actions and see how that also led us here. It's not just me. Because, like, everybody's blaming the timing of this on Big Nung. And it's like, yeah, Big Nung was the catalyst for change in Little Nung's life, the way that Little Nung was the catalyst for change in hers. But, like, to your point, Kaitlynn, like, the suicide thing, like, this didn't just happen overnight. Like, Little Nung has been building up to, like, trying to escape you guys for quite some time. It's just that she was a child that never had the means to do so and was, like, always isolated. And then she finally has somebody in her life who's willing to listen to her and help her escape the bullshit. And so she, like, was like, yeah, let's do it,
Basically, that's the same thing as wanting to live in her dreams more. It's like,
Yeah.
that's the same thing as basically, and like, trigger warning, suicide. Because, like, I mean, who knows what happens when you actually are not alive anymore, but it's the same thing. Like, she's not going to be dreaming, but she won't be having to deal with this.
Yeah. It's just, it's horrible.
Yeah. Okay. So I think this whole thing just becomes too much for Pingfa. Like, we talked about it already, and her mother's voice at this point, she's getting more agitated and louder and angrier. She gets louder and angrier after this, which I'm sure doesn't help.
Yeah.
And when that is the cause of your trauma, because I'm sure that Pingfa heard this every single day, it's hard to just sit there and handle it. And I am proud of her for not continuing to sit there and trying to get her mom to back down. Because it shows that a little bit of what Big Nung says always gets through to her. And I think
Yeah.
just when they both talk, they listen to Big Nung and
Painful.
Pingfa. They always do listen to each other.
They do.
And it just shows how much of a bond they have, that even though Pingfa admitted her feelings and Big Nung turned her down, did not just fully like cut ties in their relationship. Like they always have this connection.
Yeah, their
And
bond
I love
endured all the
seeing that.
stuff. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, I do love to see that. That's a really good point. All right. So then Pingfa, then witnessing all of this, does intervene to try and de-escalate the situation, which again, Pingfa's growth, right? She's not just she's not a helpless child anymore. Although sometimes I feel like when she's being triggered, she feels like that. She's a full ass adult who's successful as fuck. So she can be the adult in this situation. And she does step into that role and like pulls back her mother who's acting like a child, right? And she's like, Mom, quit it. Like, that's enough. But to your point, the grandmother is fully triggered and is in full fight mode right now. And instead of listening to her own daughter, which she never does, she turns on Pingfa immediately and like fully triggers Pingfa. Like she's just attacking everybody because she can't deal with her own feelings. And she says to Pingfa's face, I can't bear to see Little Nueng becoming like this. Emphasis on the this while staring at Pingfa. So what she's saying is, I can't watch her turn into a deviant like you. Because that's been the grandmother's biggest fear the whole time, right? Is that Little Nueng becomes Pingfa. With Little Nueng, she's like, I get a do-over to be a good mom and raise the perfect child. That's basically what she did, right? And then like, here's Little Nueng becoming a deviant, right? Choosing Big Nueng, somebody she hates. And like, she's like, great, now I have two rebellious degenerates. Pingfa, like, it just, Pingfa looks so hurt by this, but not surprised because her mother's been doing this shit to her for fucking entire life. She's in her 30s. And like, she spent 30 plus years of just like her mother constantly degrading her. And it's like, she's like, bitch, I'm trying to save you from yourself in this scenario. And like, you turn on, she's constantly turning
All
on
Pingfa
Pingfa.
does is help.
Yeah, I know. She's constantly turning
She's
on
a
Pingfa.
lot like Sam.
Yes, but she's more of a punching bag than Sam is. Sam's family never treated her like a punching bag, but like, oh my god, the mother treats Pingfa like a punching bag.
But I wonder if that also was a cause of their bond. Is that she is a lot like Sam?
Oh,
and,
with
like
Big,
that aspect?
yeah, it
Big
could
Nung.
be. Yeah, you're
So I
right.
think maybe that's why Big Nung gravitated towards her, because I don't think she was very open with anyone. But I think their bond and their relationship, friendship, and that's why Big Nung was like, I can't have this friendship change because you are the person I have outside of the palace.
Yeah, that's true. That's a really good point. And which is interesting that like Pingfa's like Sam because Pingfa felt like her daughter's an only child. We assume. We don't hear about other siblings. But operating off of what we see and like the novel, I don't think addressed that either. Like if she's an only child, like it's interesting that she plays the role of the middle child like Sam.
Yeah. But the look that we have from
it's heartbreaking
at the end, it hurts so much because you can just see the pain in her, and like
still
this
hurts.
is her being put back to her childhood.
Yeah,
like she is a child in this moment.
Yeah, it's awful that like again, probably her whole life has been like this. It still hurts her after 30 plus years of hearing this. You know what I mean?
Or I hope every night she calls her husband and he just talks her down. Like I hope he's like that type of person for her to lean on, because I don't think she would, first of all, would have lasted here this long. And like been this strong, because it's like she needs someone to continuously tell her like, no, you are not terrible, you are not a failure, you are not what your mother is telling you. Yeah, I know she needs the justice for Pingfa. Justice for Pingfa, literally. Okay, so while Pingfa's getting triggered, like the grandmother with that line effectively silences Pingfa, who's trying to help her. And then their grandmother, after she puts Pingfa in her place, so to speak, she then turns back to Big Nung and starts yelling, get out, and then physically assaulting Big Nung again, where she's like shoving her towards the door over and over again. And eventually Pingfa gathers up enough courage to cut in and like ask Big Nung. She's like, obviously I can't control this woman. And she basically asks Big Nung, can you, again, be the bigger person
and leave. And she's basically says, please do me this favor, like do it for me. Because I think, again, Pink has had time to come to terms with the fact that Big Nueng loves her daughter and is literally just here for Little Nueng, the way Pingfa is just here for Little Nueng. But she's like, she's like, and she recognizes that Big Nueng is suffering because you can see it on her face. But also the mother is suffering too. Like that's why she's like having this tantrum right now, because the grandmother's also loves her daughter and is having a temper tantrum right now. And really, at the end of the day, all this fighting solves nothing and is not helping Little Nueng at all. So she asks Big Nueng basically be the bigger person and please leave before things get worse.
I have to say, Pingfa sure does ask Big Nueng for a lot of favors. Like every scene we get of her and Big Nueng together, she's like, "Do me this favor,
please, Big Nueng.
Please don't make my life harder."
But I think this time it's significant that Pingfa's asking, please do me a favor, because like Big Nueng in a way won back Pingfa as an ally in this moment, because like everybody was like, get the fuck out of this room. And Pink was like, yeah, I'll call you when she gets better. And then she doesn't. And so Big Nueng's on the outs, and now she comes back. And like, despite her mother attacking her, Pink was basically like, I understand you, Nueng. Like, just please, like, now is not the time. Like, we need more time, kind of thing.
Yeah. And in this moment, this is the moment that really made me think about their bond and how it has never not been severed, because this is where Big Nueng wants to be. This is huge for her to leave Little Nueng right now.
Yes.
And it's because she understands Pingfa. Pingfa understands her. And I definitely think that they had more in-depth talks about their lives and feelings when they were teenagers. And like this was the only person that they could talk to. And at least they did more so than anyone else. Like, so we know Big Nueng isn't great with her feelings. She doesn't really know how to communicate, but I think she spoke to Pingfa more than she could anyone else.
Aside from like her sisters, probably, yeah.
Yeah. But there's still some things where you can't really talk to them
totally.
because
I mean, Sam was a baby, and then like, who knows what Song was doing?
Song was probably just isolated from everyone, isolated herself. Like she had ice.
Yeah, she had.
Again, we don't know in this universe, but we knew.
Gap the series. We're operating off Gap the series.
Gap Song is basically our
song. Our song is the Gap song. Make it up late, tapping on Ice's window.
Definitely, that's what she did.
That's what she was doing. Ice was the best. Anyway, I do love them and our headcanons about them. Okay. All right, so Big Nueng accepts what Pingfa say to her, and before she leaves, she does set down the food kind of on the counter and like takes one last very long look at Little Nueng, because like to your point, Kaitlynn, she definitely doesn't want to leave here. Like obviously, if it was up to her, she would literally never leave this hospital. Like that was when we went into this episode for the first time. I'm like, there's no way Big Nueng voluntarily leaves this hospital. Like there's no way. Like she would never leave if she didn't have to. But like they keep kicking her out, right?
You said that before we even started this episode when we were watching it.
Yeah, like she wouldn't. Like she wouldn't. She's so codependent. There's no way. Like they had to kick her out. Okay. And it's sad because I think Big Nueng feels helpless in this moment because Little Nueng is literally right there. Like she can see her, but she hasn't touched her yet, right? And you know that that's important for Big Nueng for her grounding reasons. And it's like she's physically closer to Little Nueng than she's been since the accident happened, right? And who knows what time it is right now. I don't know how many days have passed since like the actual accident happened and the last time she saw her, but like she's so close but so far away in this moment because this family is keeping her at a distance. And like she's slowly winning over Pingfa, but like there's still that barrier, you know? And so it's like very heartbreaking for her to like accept this and like leave, but she is the bigger person and she does. And again, if this was like 16-year-old Nueng who is like the rebellious deviant or whatever, she'd be like, fuck you. And there's no way she would leave. But like here she is, the emotionally intelligent, mature adult accepting this and is being the bigger person and the more emotionally mature one, which again speaks volumes to like her growth that we've just seen her do in this show. So yeah.
But we interrupt this video to bring you some brief Patreon shoutouts that are never really that brief. You know what? Stick around because everyone deserves a shout out. So as always, We appreciate all of you, not even just our Patreon members. We appreciate everybody who engages with our podcast, engages with queer media, just comes talk to us. Theore's still trying to make the heart with on her.
It doesn't work.
She tries it every time. Sometimes it works, and then we're happy. I wish I could help. I can't.
I
Try it
can't.
with like one finger. I don't. No. Okay. Anyway,
It's not
so
important.
again, as always, we love you.
It worked.
Yay! Okay, it happened for people who are
Anyway.
listening. The hearts went off on Theora's screen.
Yay.
But we have so many lovely Chaos Crew Patreon members, and we want to make sure that you know that we see you. So our Chaos Crew members on the Big Gay Ride or Die tier and above are Jay, Dana, Natalia, Miranda, Regina, and Monet. And our selected Big Gay supporter members for this episode are Sky, Kirby, and Mel.
Woo!
Woo! We love you. Again, we love everyone. And just so you know, as we film things, we film out of order. So these are supporters as we are currently filming. Yeah. And if, again, not everyone can be a Patreon supporter, that is fine. We do not expect anyone to give us money. Like, it amazes us that people want our content so much that they do. But just commenting or reviewing or just sending us a message on social media is helping us create this podcast, because we know there's people out there who really want it and appreciate it. And then also come join the Discord, because that's the best way that we can all engage with this media together and spread the love of queer content. And as always, this episode is brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you all. We appreciate you. Back to our regularly scheduled gay stuff. I guess it's not that gay. It just gets sad. Our sad content. So, okay, with Big Nueng lost the battle of going to see Little Nueng and give her some food aroma. So she like licks her wounds off screen and then tries again another day, brings food again. And this time she runs into Mommy Dearest and Pingfa in the lobby and tries to hand over the food. Since clearly they haven't left the hospital. I think they're in the same clothes that they were in the prior scene. And Big Nueng's wearing a different outfit. So, like, I think they kind of slept there overnight.
Oh, no, sorry. I'm sorry. I was thinking about timing. That was the issue. Okay. So yeah, that is a great catch, and I'm glad you pointed it out, because I did not notice. I don't notice clothing. That's Theora's territory.
Clothing and lighting.
Yeah, clothing. I'm getting better with lighting.
Yeah.
When you point it out first, and then I start looking for it. But clothing, I will never be good at.
No.
Because I don't even care what I wear. I literally just throw it, and half the time it's podcast merch. Anyway. It also means that the grandmother is committed to being there for Little Nueng, which is a pretty big thing, because it's showing that she does love her. But notice who isn't here.
Bueller, anyone?
Anyone?
Anyway. The STD.
Yeah.
That was Chet. He basically is.
STD Junior, because technically the first STD is.
He's the STD they were talking about in Mean Girls, when he's like, you will get chlamydia and die if you have sex. You'll get pregnant and die. That's basically Chet. He's the warning from Mean Girls.
Okay. And we know he doesn't actually work. I know Theora said that he probably has to work. He doesn't work.
Yeah, he's like Sam. He doesn't work. All right. So, okay. So, all right, Pingfa and the grandmother both at the same time reach for the olive branch, like the food, right? And Pingfa can't meet Big Nueng's eyeline. I think because I think she feels bad that Big Nueng can't be in Little Nueng's room right now. I think she does genuinely feel empathetic. But the grandmother is like, this bitch, and like holds her eyeline, and she's like challenging Big Nueng, basically. And then the grandmother forcefully takes possession of the food and like dramatically throws it in the trash. Which, like, girl, why would you throw away those containers that cost money? They're
Seriously.
not recyclable. What
not
the fuck?
Even just
Every
containers.
Time.
Okay, yes, the recyclable thing is like a huge thing, but also it's not just containers. It was like the lunchbox too with it, and
that's what I Like, that thing was cute. Why are you throwing it away? Like,
Also, free food, man.
Give
Take
it to
the
the
food.
nurses or something.
I get that food is like a sign of love though. So like if they were accepted, they
They're
were accepting
rejecting her
big.
love. I get that, but
Yeah.
like, it's wasteful and it makes me
Yeah.
upset.
I know it. I want to eat it.
I want
Give
Big
it to
Nose
someone
food. Give it
else.
to me.
Yes. I actually want to try it.
I do
Um,
too. Anyway, this pissed me
we
off
need a
because I was
Thai
like,
buffet where we can just try a bunch of food.
I would love that.
Do they make Thai buffets in America? Or it's like, is there such thing as a Thai buffet? We need to know that in the comments, just out of curiosity, because that was just a random thought I had. Anyway, if Pinkfa was alone, she definitely would have taken it. Because, like, not
Yes,
only is she finding
agreed.
common ground with Big Nung, but she is also desperate to get her daughter back and is willing to try anything to help her. So if Big Nung's like, oh, this random thing may help her, Pinkfa's gonna be like, let's do it.
Yeah, I agree.
While the grandmother is just too stubborn and would put her own feelings before trying something that could help.
Which is a common theme with the grandmothers in the show.
Yes. And like this is exactly how they're both valuing Little Nung. And I mentioned before, Pinkfa fully loves Little Nung. We see that. We have discussed that. I didn't see it the first time, but again, these discussions help us just as much as like we want to show you all. Anyway. So and like Pinkfa would be there for Little Nung if she could be. But while the grandmother loves Little Nung and has shown that by being there for her, she does value reputation and societal expectations more than her granddaughter. So if like someone else would be like, "Oh, it doesn't look good for you to be here the whole time," not that that's a bad thing. Like I'm sure like it's a good thing that she was there, and that's probably why she's there.
Yeah.
But if someone were to say, "Oh, that looks bad," she'd be like, "Okay, I'm done."
It's like Pinkfa's more representative of like unconditional love. It's not perfect, but it's more on that side of things than it is the conditional strings attached kind of love. Because like the grandmother, I mean, it's the same thing with Nung. Like it's like I love you, but I need you to do all these things in order to be perfect in my eyes, kind of thing. It comes with strings versus like Pingfa doesn't really have those expectations for her daughter other than like, why can't you love me and be more excited to see me? Like it's a different kind of expectation that she has. Yeah. It's not the same thing as like conditional strings.
The issue with her love is just the external trauma that's on that. Like that's weighing it down.
Right.
And that is not her fault.
No, it's like, again, Pinkfa's life is out of control. The stuff with Little Nueng is out of control. And it's like they're learning to meet each other where they are now. And it's like messy because they're messy. The adults in the show are messy, which I love. I love that. It's so real. Because adults are just people.
104.
Huh?
That's just a messy. I love 104. That's just a messy storyline, though.
I know. It's amazing. Okay, so the grandmother, despite being a stickler for, propriety, must have thrown her manners out along with the trash because she starts yelling at Big Nung in the middle of the public lobby to leave, right? They're not in the private room right now, and she's going off in public on Nung. So, to me, this is the hypocrisy of it all because the grandmother is proving the point that Little Nung has been trying to make the whole show, which is like, the rules of polite society are complete bullshit and totally made up. Especially when they're in direct opposition of like what you want and who you love kind of shit. Because like they're always like, no, you have to love a man. And she's like, but I don't love a man. I don't want to do that. And she's like, but you have to because the rules say you have to do this. And then the rules of polite society say you don't make a scene in the lobby. But here's the grandmother being like, well, now it's justified because this deviant is here. You know what I mean? It's so hypocritical. Because this is the same woman that's been chewing out Little Nueng the whole show for not being polite and causing scenes, right? And so, like, here's the grandmother doing exactly what her granddaughter's been doing the whole show, and now it's suddenly fine. Like, I hate this. But I understand it, because this is how people are, right? Because to me, the grandmother, by her own definition, in the scene is being childish, which is the same thing she gets mad at Little Nueng for. And it's like, she's acting like a child this whole part that we've been talking about. The grandmother's being very childish. I understand she's upset, but she's like regressing into a child by throwing tantrums and like throwing logic out the window and that kind of stuff like a child does.
When she doesn't have control.
Yeah, because she doesn't have control, which is her safety blanket, is just controlling everything. Okay, so who's the adult in this scenario? Pingfa, because she steps in between the two titans again and is like, can you guys not? And she grabs Big Nung's arm and tells her once again, I'm sorry, but can you please be the bigger person again and please walk away from my childish mother? And Big Nung, I think, is like getting annoyed by all of this and like I think fights the urge to keep pushing this because like she's worried and impatient and like wants to lash out too because it feels good to like throw your anger onto somebody when you're feeling hurt. But ultimately, Big Nung does the emotionally intelligent thing, which is to accept the defeat of this particular battle because the war's not over yet, and she just leaves. And after Big Nung is gone, Ping Fa consoles her own mother, which is such a 180 dynamic shift for them, right? Because you have Ping Fa being the adult, the stable adult, and the mother being an out of control mess, which is like not their dynamic ever at all. And to Big Nung's credit, she doesn't give up because, again, you lose one battle, but you can still win the war kind of thing. She tries again and again and again to deliver food, which is the peace offering at this point, to not just Little Nueng. She's like, I just need the family to accept it before he can even get to Little Nueng, right? And then one time she does use a nurse, intermediary, like a liaison, and it still doesn't work.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out if that was a different day because we were talking about how Chet wasn't there, and like that's a scene with Chet.
Yeah,
and I was like, is it that like that same day where Big Nung just took it out of trash, waited for the other two to leave, and then handed
I
it?
think it was a different bag, but like,
okay,
I think it was a different bag. But that would be really funny. She's like, well, fuck, give this to Chet. It's probably like spoiled at that point if it's been like it's a daytime then nighttime. I think it's trying to show that Chet shows up after work. He knows what he's doing because it's nighttime when he's there. He does the night shift, I guess. But anyway, that one was really funny because like, even the nurse is like, "Oh, someone gave this to you," and like Chet throws it in the trash. All right, so again, Big Nung's doing the love thing where she's like, "I'm gonna wear you down with my persistence." So she comes back another day, and again she runs into family members in the lobby, but this time it's just Ping Fa, and Big Nung just looks at Ping Fa and like accepts the rejection before it even happens, and she just turns to leave. She's like, "This is never." I guess she like got to her breaking point. And Ping Fa stops her though, and then doesn't say anything, just like takes Big Nung up into Little Nung's room. Which is cute.
I'm so glad, like, because she recognized that. Okay, this whole situation is just so complicated. I think by seeing Big Nung like give up, kind of in this little place, she's like, "Well, I don't want her to do this. I want someone to fight for my daughter." So she's like, no, I understand this, and then this is the perfect opportunity too. So yeah, but again, you have to feel bad for Ping Fa in all this because she's always getting the short end of the stick.
Always.
Like meaning she is always having things affect her. Like yeah, again, we said no control. And again, through talking on this podcast, it's amazing like what characters we come to actually love because we dive in deeper to them. And she's misunderstood by everyone in her life, and like yeah, a part of it's because she's not good at communicating exactly what she wants and feels, but she's always trying to keep other people happy, and she's being a puppet for them in the process of that. And
yeah,
I'm sure she tried, but she was just not able to. But by doing this, she's actually taking control back too, because she's letting Big Nung up. So because I don't think at this point she cares if Big Nung's there. I think she would have been the one who, if she was upset with her, just ignored her rather than kick her out.
I agree.
And also, like, again, if she could get Little Nung back and out of the coma by having Big Nung there, again, Disney tells us if the love of our life kisses us, we'll wake up, right?
Just let her make out with Little Nung. It's fine. Disney said it's okay.
Disney said it's okay.
Disney says fine. That's the medicine.
Some things are okay that are weird, but whatever.
Yeah, it's like it's the people without their consent, I guess, in Disney movies. Such a weird message. But yeah, I'm with you. I think Ping Fa was because again, everybody shows up at the hospital. Ping Fa shows up first with Chet. What's Ping Fa's first line? How's my daughter? That's why she's there. She's there for her daughter. Like, the family drama is going to come with it, comes with it, but like Little Nueng is the priority for her. So I agree with you. I think she would try whatever and wouldn't care that Big Nueng was there. Would care less than anybody else. Okay, so then why now? Why is Pingfa letting Big Nueng in the room now? I think the big thing that's obvious is that at this particular moment, Pingfa is the only one keeping vigil over Little Nueng, meaning there's nobody else there. It's just Pingfa. So there's nobody else in the room to attack Big Nueng or chase her away, because to your point, I don't think Pingfa would do that. At this stage also, because she's had more time to process what because she was actively listening to Big Nueng when Big Nueng was pleading her case. Nobody else was listening to Big Nueng. Pingfa was listening
She gained listening skills. I think she might have learned them in the United States.
Yeah, weird, but good for you.
Weird, yeah.
Weird because it's America, but good for you, Pingfa.
I mean, it was also in the past, so
true.
I feel like it was getting better at that time. We're going back, so
we're going backwards.
There was times where it was going up, like when the same-sex law was passed.
Anyway, so Pingfa lets Big Nueng in the room, and the second Big Nueng sees Little Nueng, oh, the emotions come. She just lets herself feel what she's feeling. She doesn't have to like have these defensive walls on. No one's gonna attack her. She can just let the mask off in front of Pingfa, which is also huge because like shows the trust with Pingfa, like you were saying, that Big Nueng's willing to just like let herself feel everything with Pingfa there. And who knows at this point, because like again, we got the montage of her bringing the food over and over again. Who knows how long it's been since she like saw Little Nueng again. So like, and this is the woman who's super codependent and struggles to be apart from Little Nueng for a couple hours. Like this must have been very torturous for her. And just like imagine being Big Nueng and being forbidden from seeing Little Nueng when she's in critical condition and like there's so many unknowns. Like it's the ultimate loss of control and must have been driving Big Nueng like up a wall. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and in this scene, like the relief but the exhaustion of her, like,
true.
it just looks like all she wants to do is collapse and just lay right beside Little Nueng and clinging to her. She's like, I need you to be my stuffed animal right now. Like, I need to be here. If I let go, I might be letting go forever. And like, I can't.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, but to that point, like it's not, and again, it's never enough to just see Little Nueng. She has to also touch her to know that she's real. So then she sits down next to her on the bed and she starts caressing Little Nueng's cheek. Okay, and mind you, Pingfa's in the room watching this. Okay. And so what I've learned from our comment section is that in Thai culture, the head is the sacred part of the body. Okay. Like the closer the body part is to the ground, the less sacred, more dirty it becomes. But like the head is like the sacred part. So the fact that the face touching is a very like, to me, it seems like because of the sacredness attached to that part of the body, it seems like it's a very like, it's more intimate than anything else because like that's the sacred part of that person. So what Big Nueng is doing by caressing Little Nueng's face in front of her mother is extremely intimate. Okay, it's more intimate than it would be in America if somebody did that. So if Pingfa was holding on to any iota of doubt that Big Nueng was being fake about her feelings, that's out the window right now. Like Big Nueng proves with her actions to Pingfa in particular that like she means what she says. Like when she says, I love her, she's my everything, I'm her everything. She's showing Pingfa that by like not pleading the case. She's just doing what she's doing. And it's like, okay. So Pingfa seeing this lets Big Nueng stay until nighttime. Okay, and it's nighttime, and Big Nueng's reading Little Nueng a bedtime story, which is so cute because Little Nueng used to be the bedtime story reader. And I think Big Nueng missed that part of the relationship because remember when Big Nueng's like, I thought you were going to read me that book, and Little Nueng's, she's like, why aren't you reading me novels anymore? Little Nueng's like, I got what I need out of those novels. I don't need to read. I got you already. I don't need to keep courting you like that. Get out of here, Big Nueng. I think Big Nueng's like, oh man, I like the story time. I think she liked it, to be honest with you. Okay, so she starts to read. She's reading the novel, and like she likes to sit on Little Nueng's right side. Okay, so it's like the left side of the bed because she's like laying down, right? So her back is to the door where there's the window looking in.
Yeah, I do find this interesting though because Pingfa always chooses the other side. So I wonder if that's her not wanting to take over their relationship either. Like she wants them both to be in her life and close to her, which is adorable.
Yeah, it's adorable. So I love that.
But screw Chet because that was technically his side too.
Chet can go fuck himself. I hate him. All right. So anyway, so she's reading this book, and there's some you know quote on the, and I didn't catch what it was at first, but my first thought was like, how funny would it be if she's reading Pluto? Because that was the book from the Hua Hin beach house where Big Nung's like, don't read this, Little Nueng. And like, that would have like, it's okay. Cause again, why did she make the curry? Cause she's like, well, I made it for her before and she likes it. I would just imagine her like reading a book that they read together that meant something to them that would invoke a memory where like Little Mug would like be like, ooh, I get to make out with you at the beach. You know what I mean? Like it would be like a thing that would invoke memories in Little Mug if she like read Pluto. So that was my first thought. Like Pluto would have been cute because like that was the first book they kind of like read together, kind of, because they were reading them separately.
Yeah. I mean, she could have been. We still don't know.
We still don't know. What is Pluto? We're on the journey. We're on the journey. Don't tell us.
We are. We have started at the time of filming this.
We have.
We're a couple episodes in. It's pretty good.
But the other reason my brain went there, because like the word, like what Big Nung was saying, the lines that she reads are, those spoken words, I'm not sure what they mean. It's both a permission and a request. To me, that sounds sexual. And so I was like, how funny would it be? Because I haven't read Pluto. How funny would it be if she's reading Pluto and it's like the smut part that she was giving long shit about at Hua Hin, and like Pink was in the room and is like, Big No, what are you? Like, shut up. I have to read this. How funny would that be though? She's reading smut a little bit.
I think.
How funny would that be?
With Big Nung reading it, I think Pingfo would need to excuse herself from the room.
Yes.
She'd be like,
I gotta get out of here.
I can't handle this.
Because she'd be like, Big Nung, why are you reading that part out loud? Because remember, like, what was the whole dilemma at Hua Hin? She's like, Little Nung, you don't need to be reading smut out loud. And like, Little Nung's like, wow, giving her shit for like skipping that part. So like, she'd be like, no, I have to read it. You have to read the whole book. That's what she wants. And yeah, Little Nung would be, Pink would be like, I can't with you. I'm leaving. I can't. This is too much. You know who also shouldn't be hearing this? The grandmother. So the grandmother shows up, and she thankfully doesn't go in the room when Big Nung is reading whatever smutty part of the book this was. And I assume she's there at night to probably relieve Pingfa from Little Nung watch. Because I assume that between the two of them, they try to always have somebody there. I would assume. Yeah. Chet is whatever. He just shows up when he shows up.
The bulk of their conversations currently is like scheduling.
Oh yeah. For sure. And then Chet like just shows up when it's convenient for him because it's Chet.
Yeah.
So like, but I think these two always try to have one of them there.
Or like he would try to take a shift and then he'll call out 15 minutes into it.
Right. He's got things to do. And it's like, whatever, Chet. So they can't rely on him. So I think between the two women, somebody tries to always be there. And so at the door, she sees Big Nung in the room, who's just sitting there reading to Little Nung. And she kind of pauses for a minute to be like, what is this?
Yeah. But when you see her in the door, and again, I wasn't taking the whole thing in context. I'm just looking at the line that is shown while the grandmother's looking through the window, and it says it's both a permission and a request. And with just looking at this and having the grandmother look in on Big Nung taking care of Little Nung, basically, it's like this situation, not that Big Nung is aware that she's there, but like that's a permission and a request to let her be there because she will take care of her.
Yeah.
At least that's what I got from it.
Yeah, and that's fair because like the bit what she's doing is she hovers in the window for a minute and she watches this play out before like storming in and attacking Big Nung, right? And what she watches is Big Nung like literally tucking Little Nung into bed, which is a super caretaky thing to do. So like Big Nung is not there like taking advantage of Little Nung or doing anything like devious. She's like literally reading her a bedtime story and like tucking her in. The person who's unconscious and doesn't know she's doing any of this, right? Big Nung is just doing it because she loves her. That's literally it, right? And I assume the grandmother left them alone because she does. She just turns away and leaves. Like she doesn't enter the room. She just leaves Big Nung to watch over Little Nung because she was again there probably to like take the night watch, and then she's like, oh, somebody's there who's actually taking care of her. Also, like the grandma was like, I don't want to talk to this bitch, but also she's like, okay, seems like she's actually taking care of her. I'm just gonna leave. And so what Big Nung is doing without realizing it, because remember her back is to the door, so she doesn't see any of this happening. Like it's one of those things where she's like, what do you guys do behind closed doors? And that's been the question with Big Nung. They're like, oh, you're taking advantage of my daughter. How dare you do all these things? And then like, here's a glimpse behind, literally a glimpse behind the closed door, right? And this is what the relationship is. It's just Big Nung loving Little Nung. That's it. She's just taking care of her. Like, that's it. She's just being a supportive partner, like a good partner in this scenario. And so,
How convenient there's a window on this door.
yeah, good job, everyone. And so Big Nung, through her actions, is like shifting the grandmother's perspective. Like, right? I can see what you do behind closed doors, and it's not nefarious. It's like, that's what I would do. Like, you're just taking care of her. All right. Then the next day, I don't know, next scene, we cut to like the grandmother actually coming back during the daytime and entering the room. And when she does, Big Nung is sitting on the bed clipping Little Nung's toenails, which, good job, Juana Soren. This is actually realistic because like people forget about these things you have to do with like patients who are bedbound and can't do these things. Like this is a part of taking care of them. You have to like clip their nails and like because they can't do it themselves. And so like this is actually very realistic. So I love this. This is a thing that like nurses usually do in the hospital if there's not a family member here. But also, there's a cultural implication here. So thank you to YouTube user at morbidgirl6808 who commented on
Hold
our
on. Usernames in general, they're
know.
hilarious.
Hilarious.
Continue.
Hilarious. This user commented on our first reaction to the first episode of the Loyal Pin. Because, spoiler, there's like a scene that involves like legs and like this cultural thing. So the user writes, in Thailand, legs/feet are considered to be the quote lowest body part or the dirtiest. And so in this scene, for Big Nung to sit there and touch Little Nung's feet/legs without any kind of shame, one, defies that cultural perception, and two, demonstrates Big Nung's complete devotion to Little Nung, from like the good parts to the bad parts and everything in between. So like this is a huge thing to show how much she loves Little Nung, that she's willing to like quote touch the lowest part of her body and like take care of her kind of thing. So that's like this is actually really big. It's like the complete opposite of like her touching the face in front of Pingfa, which is a reverent thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is, you know, Big Nung, the ML, is like willing to like do this for like the quote lowest part of the body kind of thing. So and she, again, this is a behind closed door thing. Like Nung is doing this without an audience, okay? So she's not performing. She's just doing this because she loves Little Nung. So then the grandmother enters the room, and then once Big Nung realizes it's the grandmother, she looks petrified. Because last time she got slapped again. So like I don't blame her. She's like, I'm gonna get beat up. I wore a white shirt. I can't bleed on this. Come on, man.
She looks terrified, but also very childlike here, like how Pingfa did when the grandmother was
I mean,
basically attacking her.
grandmothers are scary.
Yeah, but it's like Big Nung got caught with her hand in a cookie jar.
Yeah.
She is now asking for all the cookies.
I mean,
it's her turn.
She doesn't have the mouse to ask for cookies right now.
Well, it's actually mice because it's Little Nung's family. The family needs to give her the cookie jar.
That's true. So yeah, I think Big Nung is like, oh shit, I'm gonna get slapped, but also I'm gonna get kicked out of the room. I think that's the bigger problem. She's gonna take me away from Little Nung. But that doesn't happen. Instead of kicking her out, the grandmother just like silently enters the room and then sits down and just decides to coexist peacefully with Big Nung, which is a huge victory because Big Nung is in the moment of taking care of Little Nung, and the grandmother's like, fine, and just accepts that by entering the room and just coexisting. It's like an acceptance without saying it kind of move, which is huge. So Big Nung now has 2 allies. So 2 down, 1 to go. Good job, Big Nung.
We don't care about the third one, though.
We don't give a shit, but like she has to win the trifecta,
yeah.
Okay? Because she's perfect, right? She's got to go for the triple threat, or the hat trick, if you will, for the soccer. All right, so more time passes, and we've gotten to the point where all the women can coexist with Big Nung, which is huge. And this scene starts with Big Nung sitting on the side of the bed with Little Nung. So she is physically the person closest to Little Nung, while the mother and the grandmother are sitting in the chairs by the door. So Pingfa's not in her vigil seat on the opposite of Big Nung. She's like, again, letting Big Nung take the watch of like the closest one, which is huge also. So I like that. They basically gave her the space to be like the closest person to Little Nung, which like is what Big Nung is. And that's what she's been saying this whole time. She's like, I'm her everything, she's my everything, meaning like they're closest to each other. So like this is them physically letting them do that, like letting Big Nung physically be the closest person. So visually in the scene, it seems like they've all come to a place of acceptance with Big Nong, which is further illustrated by how the rest of the scene plays out, which is very cute.
Yeah, but then like again, the positioning in the scene we talked about before, while Chet was waiting for Big Nung to leave so he could replace her in Little Nung's life, because that's why he didn't want her there, the grandmother and Pingfa, I mean, more specifically Pingfa, are giving up their position for Big Nung to enter Little Nung's life. So, like,
Yes.
while, and I think that's why Big Nung chooses the other side of the bed. Again, this is just us. Like, she's on that side of the bed because she's respecting Pingfa in that moment, because not only does she want her daughter to have, not her daughter, well, yeah, Pingfa's daughter to have a relationship with her. I'm like, that's it, it'll still work. But she does respect Pingfa as Little Nung's mother.
Well, the thing is, like, Big Nung does respect the family dynamic. Like, at the end of
Mm-hmm.
the day, she does. She respects the fact that, like, Pingfa is her mother, and, like, the grandmother is the grandmother, and, like, that comes with roles, and, like, she does respect that, but she's like, I'm not gonna, like, sit by and let you guys harm her, basically.
Yeah.
Um, and so I like that the comment on the positioning can kind of be read as, like, you know, a comment on the fact that, like, when you, like, have a romantic partner, it doesn't mean you, like, have to, like, throw your entire family away, which is, like, kind of a lesson in this story, basically. Like, you can make room for all of those things, and that's kind of, like, physically what's being demonstrated, right? It's like Big Nung has hers, they're letting Little Nung have room for Big Nung in her life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they can still be there. Maybe they don't have as much of a Little Nung's heart as they did before, because she opened it up to somebody else, which is part of growing up. So, like, they're letting Little Nung be an
Yeah.
adult. That's
Like, they
also
don't
the
have
thing.
as big of a role. And it's also a thing
Yes.
when
Growing
someone
up.
gets married, you got to let go. Like, this is someone else's problem to deal with now. And that's why there's a lot of, like, over protective, overburden. I don't know what it's like, overbearing,
Overbearing.
like mother, parent in laws, because they
Yeah.
don't know how to let go yet.
Right. Yeah.
And
So
this is them learning.
this is them learning to let their daughter be, because, like, up till now, like, again, everyone except Big Nung treats her like a child, and she's not a child. And the first one to come to acceptance that Little Nung is not a child is Pingfa, and now the grandmother's come into that acceptance of, like, okay, she's an adult who's, like, getting ready to move on, to let us go, not let you go completely, but, like, not rely on us anymore, and, like, build a life with somebody else, which is, like, part of, like, growing up as a human, right? You, like, find a family. I mean, even if you're not, like, romantically involved, you have a found family beyond that, another support system outside of, like, the family unit you grew up with. It doesn't mean you get rid of it. You just, they move on to the next phase of their life, and other people then become important the way the family was when they were raising that person. And for Little Noam, like the grandmother, she's like, it was just us and everything was fine. Like, that's part of her reluctance to let Little Noam grow up, right? Because she's, like, still viewing her as, like, the grandchild I was responsible for, like, holding on to until she became an adult. And I think the grandmother's afraid to let her be an adult is part of it too. And so she's
Mm-hmm.
learning to, like, let her be an actual fucking adult, like, through this tragedy that happens.
Unfortunately, it takes a tragedy to
Unfortunately, it
teach
takes
you
a
that a
fucking
little bit.
horrific car
But
accident for everybody to get here. But, like, we are where we are with everybody.
but it's also technically life too, because again, we don't see that life is fragile. It's not unlimited. I mean, like, it, but then you take things for granted.
Yes.
It's always when someone gets sick that you're like, oh, I should have answered their call. I should have called them. And it's easy to be like, oh, I won't regret it. You don't know how you're going to feel until something like this happens.
Right. Exactly. Sometimes it takes a horrific event for you to, like, get a new perspective, basically, on stuff. And, like, people could tell you things, like Big Nung's been, like, ringing the warning bells, but everyone ignored her. And then, here it is. And now we have to face reality. Some people, you have to force them to face reality with horrific events versus, like, processing it beforehand. But, here we are. Okay.
Sometimes it takes 3 months after horrific events. Chet.
Chet. Oh my God. I know. He's the worst. Literally, it takes him 3 months. He's the actual worst. Okay. So the rest of the scene. So, okay. So another bit of realism from, like, being unconscious and how that kind of works in a hospital. So the nurse comes in because it's time to check on Little Nung and do their, like, daily activities and stuff. And part of that is, like, cleaning the patient so they, don't get sick, don't get infections and things like that. So she comes in to, like, change her clothes, probably change the bedding, I assume is what she was going to do, and, like, give her a, a sponge bath or whatever, wipe her down. So what's interesting is that she's like, the nurse is like, I have a million patients. Do you guys want to help? And so like the family, I guess, helps the nurse out with this. Whether it, I don't know if this is uh common in like Thai
I did
hospitals.
research. I'll tell you in a
Okay,
second.
tell me in a minute because I don't work at a Thai hospital. Like usually nurses are charged with doing certain things and like have to do it, but like family members can help out, like Nung was doing. That's not uncommon. So they come in and like no words are spoken other than the nurse being like, time for it's bath time, basically. And Pingfa gets up to like as mother to take charge, but like Big Nung is the one who she's already like moving towards the nurse, like she's done this before, basically. And then Pingfa sees Big Nung doing this and just like sits down and like lets Big Nung do it, which is huge.
Yeah, and part of me still finds it odd that Pingfa is willingly taking the back seat right now with her daughter, like after not being able to be there for her. And like I'm kind of surprised she doesn't try to do more and like sit next to Big Nung because there is her spot on the bed is like still there because Big Nung didn't take it over.
Yeah.
But I know I can also rationalize it by it being extremely painful for her as well to see little Nung like this, and that Big Nung is now helping both of them out by sparing them this, I mean, quote burden, but like by like it's she's taking care of them by having them not have to do this.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, it does. But I think there's Big Nung wants to.
Yeah, too.
But yeah, she is taking some of the work away from them, which is, sharing is caring, right? Basically. Okay. And the remarkable part for me is that it even goes as far as like, so Big Nung's doing the thing, like in patient rooms. Like Little Nung obviously is wealthy, so she got a private room. And in the room, basically Big Nung draws the privacy curtain because she's going to bathe her. And like the grandmother and the mom let Big Nung do this, which I thought was beyond wild. Like that's a level of acceptance to like let Big Nung like be alone with Little Nung when she's going to like clean her body, which I thought was humongous that the family let that happen. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's a demonstration of just how much trust they're placing in Big Nung all over again with Little Nung.
Yeah. But why is Big Nung, or a family member in general, doing this? That was my first question. And then I realized I got a brain, I have capability. I took a step further and did my own damn research. Um, okay, so for context, in America, from what I see and like know, Theora, you said that they do help out, but I assumed it wasn't allowed because everything is a liability,
Right.
especially when Americans love to sue each other over everything.
Correct. So, like in America, I practice in hospitals. Like I'm a medical provider, and so nurse. So when it comes to bathing, the nurse will do the bathing because, like, again,
Mhm.
if something goes wrong, they can get infected. Then the nurse is now liable, and they get sued. So that's why it wouldn't happen. But like doing things like clipping nails and like things that are less risky, like brushing hair,
Yeah.
things like that. The nurse would absolutely be like, yeah, go for it, whatever. But like when it comes to like things that can have adverse outcomes for the patient, where nurse is liable, hospital is liable, no, legally they wouldn't let you do that. So that's why I was like, oh, they're bathing. I didn't know, like, I didn't have time to look into it, so I apologize. But
And
like from my
people
practice,
are
like they would.
very quick to sue.
Yes.
And again, part of the reason is like because also medical bills. Like it's insane. They'll try anything.
Yeah, because then the insurance company would be like, we're not paying for this because the hospital caused the infection or whatever. We're not paying for it. So yeah, it's the liability issue.
Yeah. And like the bathing thing is like what mainly? Like everything else was like normal, but the bathing thing, I was like,
Yeah,
oh, why is
because
she
that's
doing that?
that's part of like standard care practice for like maintaining like health of the patient. So like yeah, there's a liability aspect in America to that particular part, not the toenail part. There's no liability
Yeah.
to that. Yeah.
Okay. So, meanwhile, in Thailand, it's common for family members to play an active role in a patient's care, especially in public hospitals where nursing staff may be limited. And
True.
bathing or helping with hygiene is often seen as a way for family members to show love, respect, and support for their loved ones. And from what I've seen, policies do vary between hospitals, but in public hospitals, they're usually allowed to do this. And in private hospitals, um, or for critical cases, medical staff handle these tasks, though family members can help under supervision. So like
Yeah.
it's a huge cultural thing to like help take care of your family member. So the Thai culture places high value on familial duty, especially when it comes to caring for elders or ill family members. So this makes sense. And the bathing and assisting with hygiene are acts of compassion, particularly and respect, in particularly in Buddhist teachings. And for elderly and incapacitated patients, this is a way. It's seen as a way to maintain dignity and their comfort while they are not able to. So there are instances where only medical staff can do it, and it's basically if the patient's condition requires special attention, like with infections and stuff like that. Um, and like some hospitals may have strict protocols where family can only assist in less intensive tasks, like washing the face and hands.
Yeah. Which makes sense. From an infection, again, that's my specialty, so I know that part really well. Like, it does make sense from an infection prevention, which is a whole subset of people in the hospital. There's a subset of people who just their whole job is making sure people don't get infections while they're in the hospital. So like
Yeah.
that would be part of that bundle to like make sure they're not getting harmed. Not that the families are harming people, but like people
Mm-hmm.
hanging around in hospitals are at high risk of contracting infections because like hospitals, like infected people come in there and like things can get passed to people who
Yeah.
are just like in rooms and you don't mean for
Because
it
I
to
mean, it's
happen.
airborne, right?
It depends.
Some
Depends.
things.
Some things are from like contaminated medical equipment. Like nurse doesn't wash their hands and they touch the patient. Family members don't wash their hands. They touch the patient. Like things can just get passed to them and they're vulnerable because their immune systems might be compromised. Like people are not 100% in the hospital. So like there's a whole department of people whose whole job is just to make sure patients are safe and all these, and they're being cleansed properly. So they're not contracting anything while they're just trying to get better. So like I understand the legality of that. Like that's a whole department. I work with a department that does that. Like it just, people are just doing that. That's their whole job in
Yeah.
hospitals.
And we don't know if Little Nueng is in a public or private hospital because really it could be private. They seem to have money. Chet has money. Big Nueng has money. Like even if there were like uncovered,
Yeah. I mean, she's in a
yeah, part of
private
it. She,
room. We know that. But yeah,
yeah.
we don't know. And that's
So
okay.
like it could be a private hospital, and like they still can assist if they choose to do so there. But in a public hospital, resources may be limited, so they do rely on family members to do non-medical tasks because they just cannot handle it.
Yeah, I understand that. Thank you,
I hope
Kaitlynn.
that, and if any of that was not accurate, please let me know. Like, obviously, I can't scour the whole internet. I have to do as quick research as I can because I will get distracted by it and go down rabbit holes, and I will learn the most random things. And
Also,
it's
like we
just
have to
annoying.
rely on like English translated stuff. So like
Yeah,
it's hard to verify 100% how accurate it really is because like again we don't live in Thailand and like we can't read like actual Thai sources all the time, like we're relying on translation, so like please correct us if that was wrong. We did our best. Okay, so thank you, Kaitlynn. So Big Nong, we cut to later after the bathing. Little Nong, Big Nong eventually passes out on with her head on the bed, like a kid that falls asleep on their desk, like on Little Nong's bed, like sitting in her same position. Because this is what I imagined her doing the entire time she was in the coma, just like literally sleeping like this. And we get a shot of the book cover. So she wasn't reading Pluto, but she was reading a book that has significance for the two of them in so many ways. She's
oh, really? I don't think it has anything to do with them, Theora.
no, because I mean, it's blank, the novel. So A, it's their story. And B, like this showed up before when Little Long's like, I bought that just for you to read for you. So like I assume off screen, like Little Long did read this, regardless of what the book was called. I assume she read this book, and that's why Big Nung picked it. Also, like product placement. Good. Good job, everybody. The product placement in the show is so on point. I love it. And honestly, Big Nung, maybe if you read this to her sooner, we wouldn't be here because you'd be like, maybe you shouldn't. We shouldn't use the radio. You know what I mean? We would have had some tips, but live and learn, right, guys? Oh, how funny would it be? She gets to the end, she's like, oh fuck, wait,
Yeah.
wait a minute. Yeah. Anyway, all right. So she falls asleep, is the bottom line. Probably was reading and fell asleep. And then the grandmother, we see like a blanket get draped over Nueng, and it's the grandmother who's doing something caretaking to Nueng, who like literally passed out, like taking care of little Nueng, which is so cute. And so like again, like Big Nueng, these two scenes back to back are showing that like Big Nueng won over Pingfa. Not that she lost Pingfa, but like solidified her alliance with Pingfa, and then definitely earned the respect of the grandmother, which Big Nueng knew was going to be hard, but she did it, and she did it through her genuine love for Little Nueng and her persistence. So good job, Big Nueng.
And it's cute because someone's
cute.
actually taking care of Big
Nueng. I know. Because we only seen Sam take care of Big Nueng, so like, yeah, and Auntie Nem, I guess, to some degree too, is taking care of Big Nueng.
Yeah.
Now it's time for a time jump. 3 months later, where are we? Well, we're back in Little Nueng's hospital room, and it's the women are there. So it's Pingfa, grandmother, and Big Nueng. And the relatives of Little Nueng have gotten to the point with Big Nueng where they trust her enough to be left completely unsupervised with Little Nueng. So they take a break from being in the hospital and they're like, Big Nueng, you're on watch. That's fine. We trust you, which, wow. What a place to be. Like, that's great. She got there.
We've come so far.
We've come so far, and they all even managed to have a civil conversation where no one's swinging at Big Nueng. So, like, big strides. We've made big strides here. And also, interestingly, Pingfa makes a comment in this scene where she expresses concern for Big Nueng, and she's like, hey, like, don't, spend your entire life in this hospital. Like, you need to take care of yourself, too, basically. So, like, we've gotten from, like, a just, we're tolerating you, to a, like, we're worried about your health stage, which is huge for Big Nueng. Also, like, I had a question in the scene because it's been 3 months now. Pingfa is still in Thailand. So my question is, what the fuck is Pingfa's job that she's, like, unexpectedly left Thailand, like, several weeks before the accident, is still not back in America? Is she still employed? Like, what's going on
Do
with
we know
Pingfa?
for sure that she has a job? I forget.
I assume she has a job.
Or, like, maybe her fiance or husband has a really good job, and she's just being a proper wife. It's that's sarcasm.
I mean, she's
But that's
not
what
married
America would
yet.
say
And
right
also,
now.
like, she's been in America since she was 16 and, like, isn't in school anymore. Like, she had to have some kind of job. And, like, I assume just left unexpectedly for months. Maybe she's a remote worker. I don't
That's what I
know.
was gonna be like. There is remote working. Like, what
I
year
just,
is this?
right. I mean, they have cell phones and shit and iPads. So, like, I assume it's modern. But, like, yeah, I'm just wondering, like, what does Pigfa actually do? Because, like, she just, like, pieced out of her life for, like, a not insignificant period of time. And I bring this up because if she's in America, like, you could take unexpected, like, medical leave and stuff, but usually you get a maximum of 3 months of protected time. It's unpaid because it's America, they don't pay you. But then after that, your job's at jeopardy. So I was just curious what was her job, because I'm worried about her, like, as an American, like, who knows these laws. I'm like, she's probably not in a
I'm
good
worried
spot.
about her as an American.
I mean, yeah, like, her job's not protected anymore at this point, like, legally. So just curious what she was doing in America, because she's still here. All right. Anyway, so when they're alone, Big Nueng and Little Nueng, Big Nueng transitions into, like, it's Little Nueng time. So she starts using her cute voice and she's teasing Little Nueng. So again, one person could be unconscious and they're still like themselves, which is really funny. And she's like, "Hey, you need to wake the fuck up already. What the hell? I miss you," which is so funny. Where she's basically like trying to annoy her into waking up, which
Really, she has been taking on Little Nueng's personality with between the persistence and
yeah, totally.
yeah. It's like her way of being closer to Little Nueng.
That's a really good point. By, like, adopting her mannerisms and shit, it is really, really funny. And also, like, again, Big Nueng has grown just even in the 3 months into Little Nueng, basically, which is super funny. And but my takeaway from this is that Big Nueng was able to, like, take the focus. She seems more, like, in control of herself and, like, or of her life, and, like, has a focus and, like, a purpose again. So she also seems like healthier and in a better place despite the situation, which is, it's 3 months and Little Nueng is still in the coma stage. I don't know whatever stage she's in for her like TBI injury. So overall, good thing, despite the circumstances. And so Big Nung kisses Little Nung's forehead. And like if this was a Disney movie, Little Nung would wake up now because it's like true love's
Oh
kiss. Oh,
yes,
that was the magic
they
all
would
along,
basically be
right?
married.
Right. They'd be married. And the family, it's legally binding by the laws of Disney. There's nothing you can do about this. Which would be really interesting to move into that. But anyway. All right. So at this point, we've established that Big Nung has defeat 2 out of the 3 major foes in terms of Little Nung's family. And then as she's doing this caretaking shit, the final boss shows up, which is Chet. And
Dun dun dun.
it's amazing but not surprising that he managed to avoid Big Nung for 3 months, whereas the women were forced to confront Big Nung because she was constantly at the hospital, and they're like, I guess. And now they're at a place of like she's part of the family, but Chet managed to avoid Big Nung for 3 months. Okay. And I assume he was actively avoiding her because let's be real, the second Big Nung got access to be in Little Nung's room, she never left. Hence the comment from Pinkfa of like, you might want to go home once in a while and take care of yourself, right? So like, I assume Chet never saw his daughter because he was like, Big Nung's there. I'm not gonna. He's too petty. You know what I mean? It's never about Little Nung. It's about him. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I just kind of feel like he continued on with life as if nothing happened.
That's also true.
And like maybe texted Pingfa or the grandmother to check in on Little Nung, but again, I think he put it out of his mind, and it would be like under the guise of keeping up appearances for the family and being the strong one
The
to
dad.
make him look like the hero.
Right. Of course. Yeah, he's got to make it about himself. But he doesn't want to see Big Nung, so I assume he was like just like avoiding her and avoiding this room because she's always in it. Because it's not about his daughter, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Anyway, so we get like basically a similar scene to what we got earlier, where like Big Nung's in the room just living her life, taking care of Little Nung, and Chet is now like getting a glimpse inside the room of like what's their relationship behind closed doors. And for once, he doesn't run away; he actually sticks around to like watch this play out. And here's Big Nung, and what she's doing in the scene is she's like massaging Little Nung's like foot and like her leg, basically. Which again, important for somebody in a coma to like keep blood flowing and things like that. So she's doing a good thing. And for once, Chet actually keeps quiet and just like pays attention to like information that's like right in front of him. Because he doesn't run away right away. He just like lingers and kind of like watches this plays out for like a hot second. And like we've established earlier, thanks to our YouTube comment, like what's Big Nung's kind of doing in this scene is like, again, touching the feet, the lower part of the body, culturally speaking. So she's defying a cultural norm right in front of Chet, which I mean, she's the deviant, so she does that a lot. But she's doing it to take care of Little Nung, right? Whom he allegedly cares about. And she's doing it with a smile on her face. It's not like she's begrudgingly like doing this task that's like low or demeaning, or could be read as that, like from a cultural point of view. She's like happily doing this with a smile on her face because she's just, happy taking care of Little Nung. That's what she wants to be doing.
She's a multifaceted deviant.
She's a multifaceted. She's a deviant with a heart of gold, I guess. But Chet, being the coward that he is, runs away again and once again avoids confrontation with Big Nung. And meanwhile, Big Nung just like again continues doing her, and she's talking to Little Nung the entire time because I feel like she's just doing anything she can to be like, maybe she hears my voice, maybe she smells the food, maybe if she feels my hands, like she'll like get out of this dreamland. And so she's like actively encouraging Little Nung to wake up. And my favorite part is when she calls her sleepyhead because I think that's just so funny.
Yes, she's
just so funny.
She's choosing to be asleep.
That's exactly like that's what I read. Like a sleepyhead is somebody who like chooses this, and like it's just like Little Nug's just like, haha, you sleepyhead. No, she's like out cold because of a traumatic brain injury, but it's just a cute, endearing name, and I think that this comment is so funny and cute. Because she's just being cute in the scene, like with no audience whatsoever. She's just, this is no masked Big Nung, and like this is what she would do, like just given the chance, and like here it is, just calling her sleepyhead is very cute. I did love that part. So this is obviously exhausting for Big Nung because like I feel like she never sleeps. She just hovers constantly in this hospital. And so we cut over to like later that day, I assume, where Big Nung is in the lobby, like passed out in a chair, basically, or like falling asleep actively, like in the lobby. And in this scene, for some reason, Chet decided to be a person and goes over and talks to her.
But my question is, why was she in the lobby?
I
Because
wonder I wonder if like Little Nueng was sent for a test. Like they could like have to
oh
do I assume like at this stage where she's medically speaking, when she's out like this, they'd have to like repeat an MRI, look at her brain. Cause like they can't do much, but they can like keep doing imaging. So I wonder if she was in like an imaging machine and there's no point to be in the room. So she just got out of the room.
yeah, I
Or Kayla
guess
and the grandmother were like, take a break. And but Nung's not gonna leave the hospital. She's like, what if she wakes up? Like, so she's gonna fall asleep in the lobby.
my
Something like
theory
that.
was that the three of them set up a schedule where like they all get one-on-one time with her.
Oh, that's cute. It could be. It could be. Could be. I mean, Chet came from the from the elevator. So, like, was he in the? Did he like sneak into the Little Nug's room?
No, he
He
was
doesn't
hitting
know
on
the
a
schedule.
nurse.
Let's be honest. Because even if there was a schedule and they texted it or emailed it to him, he would rate it. So he just shows up whenever it's good for him. So
Oh, he's not even on the schedule because he can't be relied on to show up.
right. No, but like, okay, even if they don't put him on the schedule, he'd bitch about not being included. So they like include him, understanding he's not going to do it. I feel like is what would end up happening. Because he has to
Oh,
feel
okay.
included. It has to be about him, but he's not actually going to do it unless it's on his schedule. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anyway, so Chet decides to be a person and talk to Big Nung. So he asks her how she's doing. That's the first thing he asks, which weird. And but she responds, "I don't know how I'm doing," which is super valid. Like we've seen all the stuff that she's been through, all the stuff that she's doing. Little Nung's still not awake. She doesn't know. She's just like doing her best. And then she asks Chet the same question, and he also says, I don't know how I'm doing either. Because, like, what is life in this scenario, really? And this is like a wild scenario that they're living right now in so many ways.
Yeah, it's not a very typical one, I would say. Not
No.
one that people usually go through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So then he sits down next to her, and this is interesting because, like, okay, this is the first time we've seen them interact in like 3 months, right? And so when he goes to sit down next to her, he sits down in the adjacent chair. So he doesn't leave like a empty chair between them. Like if you flash back to when Little Nog first came to the hospital and like she was in the OR and they did their fight and then they sat there. Hi, Kendra.
Hi, Genji.
Hey, baby. I closed that door.
She opened it.
Did you watch her open the doorknob? No. Oh. How did you get in here? I mean, she can stay in here. It's fine. Just close the door. What is she gonna do?
She's so cute. She's like, I missed you.
Hi. I don't know what she's doing. Anyway. Okay, so if you go back to that scene, when everything calms down, Pingfa sits down next to Big Nung, right? They leave like an empty chair, so there's like a gap between the two of them, showing that they're divided. But like here, Chet elects to sit directly next to her. So like, I don't know what happened with him off screen. I don't really care, but I guess he's at a point where he's like seeing Nung as a human being again for some reason. So he's like, okay, I'll actually talk to you and treat you like a human. I somewhat respect, which I don't know that he really does, but like visually, that's what this looks like. Also, it helps with the camera because it's like you can get a better frame if they're sitting next to each other. So there's also that practicality of this. But
That's the reason.
that's the reason. But Chet
It's a
elected
small
to sit.
hospital.
Chet elected to sit directly next to her. So there's that. But Big Nung's like, this is weird. You haven't talked to me in 3 months. So she still has like her arms crossed. So she's kind of defensive going into whatever this is with Chet. But like, she's kind of calm and put together, you know?
Yeah, but you always have to be on guard when it comes to him because who
Yes.
knows what the hell is about to happen.
He's a wild card, isn't he? Well, he's not really a
Mm.
wild card. He's just going to be selfish because that's what he always
No,
does.
it's a wild card because who would have saw that proposal coming?
That is true. I mean, he was flirting. He was trying to court her like the whole show. So it's like, and he doesn't listen. So like, it's not a stretch really for him to get there. It's just like, I hoped you were better than this, but you're not. I'm not like, remember when she got the proposal? She wasn't surprised by this. She was just like annoyed.
Yeah.
He's an idiot. You can always rely on him to be selfish because he's always selfish. Okay, so anyway, they do a bit of small talk, and then Chet follows that small talk up with some silence. And Big Nung takes the opportunity to ask what we're all asking. And she's like, okay, you're sitting down next to me, you're chit-chatting with me like a friend. Like, are you not mad at me anymore? Like, have you come to your senses the past 3 months? Like, what's going on? And Chet actually responds with, well, actually, no. Chet responds with the most emotionally immature answer, which is, I'll be mad at you forever.
Which, like, dude, come on now.
Again, what did she
Because,
really do?
I mean, he has nothing better to do with his life. And it's easier to blame her than actually face shit and try to make changes himself.
Right, exactly. So what he's admitting is, I'll never change. Like, at least you're consistent, I guess. Chet, we're not surprised by any of this. You were the actual worst character of the show. So there we go. All right, but the answer makes Big Nung uncomfortable because, like, she's like, fuck, he's like the last pillar of the family, and I did look at the strides she made with the grandmother. So it's to her, who's been like persisting on this quest for so long, it's like she feels defeated a bit by this. She's like, God damn, the final boss, I'll never beat him, I guess. But Chet decides, out of the kindness of his cold, dead heart, to take a break from hating Big Nung while Little Nung's in critical condition. Like, wow, what a big person you are, Chet. So big of you.
How kind of you. That's all I could have ever wanted in life.
So
it's
kind.
the best gift you could have given her.
Yeah, and the gift that keeps on giving, because he's like, let me tell you about how I've been doing. Again, let's shift the focus off my daughter and let's talk about me for a minute. And he's like, since she's been in the hospital, I can't really sleep and shit. And what a shitty conversation to be having with Chet. But, like, honestly, Big Nung has taken whatever cookies she can get from this man, because she's like, I'm here for Little Nung. It's just whatever.
It's more like chocolate chips from him.
Yeah, it's crumbs. Take the crumbs. Not even a chocolate chip. Like, chocolate chip on its own is good, but, like, just like a piece of a piece,
Mm.
Right. But, Big Nung can, despite his bullshit, Big Nung can relate to this, because obviously she's not sleeping well either. She's, like, literally always at this hospital. And then Chet admits that, I love my daughter very much, even though I didn't raise her. Do you? You keep saying that, but I don't see any evidence that this is actually true.
There is no evidence.
0.
Yeah, you won't even accept her.
I don't know that a jury of your peers would agree with this in the court of law, Chet, that you love your daughter, but okay.
Could you imagine if this is like stuff that would be decided in a court of law by peers? Like, do you love your daughter?
Objection, Your Honor. Yeah, no, there's no way. Unless he paid off the jury, which I would put it past him. All right, so Big Nung thinks on this for a second before she suggests, like, okay, because he's like being like, I love my daughter so much, and she's like, you should tell your daughter that when she wakes up instead of telling me in the lobby, because that's weird. Like, talk to your daughter like a person, Chet, for fuck's sake. That's been the lesson we're trying to get you to learn the whole goddamn show, and we're still here in the finale.
I don't think he'll ever learn it.
No, he never changed. He just admitted, he's like, I will never change, Nung, I'll hate you forever. And it's like, basically, I'm not willing, I don't want to learn anything, is what he said in that line. So there we are. At least he's self-aware. He's not learning. Okay, because Big Nung once again suggests this, please tell your daughter this. He doesn't agree to that, obviously, but instead says, like, if I could makes it about himself. If I could turn back time, I would want to be a good dad for her. Okay, first of all, Chet, this isn't reverse for you, Chet. You could never A, have those magical powers because you'd abuse them, but B, like, you could never be the parent in that story because it requires you to be selfless. Like, never. You couldn't be any of those characters, actually, because you're not smart enough and you don't know what love is. That's the whole point of that novel, is the concept of love.
If we were still on our first session of recording, I had it all queued up to do if I could turn back time, as you were saying, but I don't have it. I forgot about it.
No, he doesn't deserve that song. That song is for reverse for you.
That's fair.
It doesn't deserve it. He could never. All right. And second of all, you can be a better dad, Chet, if you just fucking listen to Big Nung and take her goddamn advice. Like, it's not, you don't need to turn back time to be a good dad. You just need to actively start doing it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, again, just care.
No, he doesn't care. But once again, this conversation is Chet making this entire ordeal about himself. So, like, let's move on to the better part. So, at least, like, he does admit in this conversation that Big Nung was right about, like, the hey, you guys are responsible for what's happening with Little Nung and, like, how we all led up to this situation. Like, you ever stop to question why she was trying to flee all you guys all the time? So, he does admit that. He's like, all right, yeah, we were all responsible for this. So, there's that. At least he learned that off screen. But again, he's the epitome of that, of the human being that, like, it took his daughter getting into a horrific car accident where she's on the brink of death for him to realize that, like, maybe I shouldn't have treated her like that. Like, and then he, like, gets into it and he's like, basically, like, also came to the real whopping realization that, oh, she's a person and her life is her own. And it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, like his
Bro.
line is something like, "It took this disaster or something
Yeah.
to make me see that she's a person," and,
He
like,
literally
literally
said
says
that. He
that.
literally
I'm
said
like,
that.
"What the hell, dude? Do you not see how problematic that is?"
But I'll never change, no. I'll hate you forever.
I'll never change, Nung.
Yeah, no, he's the worst of humanity because people are like this, where they're like, "That'll never happen," and then it happens, and they're like, "Oh shit, maybe I should have done things differently." Okay, you tried to warn me, I ignored you. Oh god, he's the worst. But yeah, it's sad. And it really boils down to why is he like this? It's a lack of empathy. He doesn't have any empathy skills whatsoever. And like, cause he never once took the time, and a lot of characters did it in the show, or like it took them a long time to like put themselves in Little Nung's actual shoes and empathize with her and be like, oh, this is pretty shitty. You know what I mean? Like, Chad is that kind of person that like it has to personally affect him and he personally has to experience it for him to give a shit. He's that person. So, and the irony of this too is like, yeah, we're looking. Chet is terrible, objectively speaking, but also like Big Nung was also like this. And when we first met her, right? Because like she didn't have a lot of feelings. She went through life with feelings on mute until she met Little Nung, and then they're like full volume. She's like, oh god, what do I do at all? What is this? Right? It took her a while to learn empathy because she never had the feelings to be able to like to empathize, right? And Little Nung is the one that taught her empathy. And like this man's been ignoring his daughter the whole time. If he had paid attention to her, he would have learned empathy because she's good at teaching that, Little Nug. You know what I mean? Okay. But bottom line is we finally get what we've all wanted. Chet relinquishing control as the parent for Little Nung. So he's like, and Big Nung's like, great, you're gonna let her be her own person. That means her love life's her own too. Which is a huge win for Little Nung, first of all, because then she can be queer, do whatever the hell she wants, which is a big win. But also, like, Big Nung's like, yay, I can have her now. I don't care if you're mad at me. Who cares? Like, now I can date her. It's
No,
fine.
no one cares if he likes you or not.
No.
But also, the fact that he was able to control her at all is annoying. But
Yes, it's
we've already been
despicable.
through that.
Yes, it's the worst. All right. So, but of course, he's like, I understand this, but like, I don't want to accept it, Big. Of course, you don't want to accept it. You don't want to accept any of this, Jed. All right. But then he like kind of starts that line and then pauses and leaves out the, but I love my daughter and I'm choosing to accept what she wants. And she's made that pretty crystal clear what she wants. And I've just been not willing to accept what she actually fucking wants this whole time because I wanted her to do what I wanted her to do, right?
Yeah, she
So
makes it clear, but it goes through like a reverse filter, and it's just like,
it's amazing, really. Yeah. But then he finishes this by telling Big Nung to look after Little Nung for him when she wakes up. And basically, what this is Chet finally accepting Little Nung's queerness in his own way, despite his raging homophobia, and it's him giving Big Nung permission as the suitor to date Little Nung. Not that she needed permission, but like in the family structure, like that's the proper way to do it, kind of thing, like the traditional way to do it. So like we're getting everything back on track is kind of like this conversation. The final boss is being defeated in a way, I guess.
it's the best acceptance they're gonna get from him.
Yeah, like literally. He'll go back to like ignoring Nung forever after this conversation, which is fine that we have to hear him less, which I'm fine with.
Would he? Because he's never actually ignored her in his life. It's always
Well,
either been, oh, I'm trying to get you, or I hate you, and I'm going after you.
I mean, if
Because of that.
He's basically saying in this conversation that, like, I want to do better and, like, love my daughter more. So if he does stick to that, the best way he would do that, if he's hell bent on hating Big Nung, is literally, like, staying out of the way. Pretty much, like, out of the way of the relationship, basically, because Big Nung's gonna piss him off, and then, like, if he's trying to win over his daughter, then he just probably would stay out of the love life picture. And, like, in the novel, they get to a point where, like, I'll get to it later, but basically, like, the family members that don't agree ignore that it's happening. And I think that's what Chet would do. He would just do I'm never going to talk about it. And if I don't talk about it and I don't acknowledge it, then for me, she's not in this relationship. It's probably what he's going to do, really. Because he doesn't want to accept any of this. So I think in his brain, he will choose not to accept it and just ignore it instead.
That sounds plausible.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that's kind of how the book goes down too for some of the family members. All right. So, like, again, to hear this from Chet is pretty shocking. And Big Nung hearing this is shocked. But she can tell that he's being honest in this moment. So she just, like, kind of, like, nods her head and, like, okay, like, yeah, I was going to do it anyway. But I'm definitely going to look after her for sure. And he shares a smile with her at the end, which is also good. Like, again, like, this was a friendly, civil conversation with Chet, which, like, I don't think she's had one of those in a very long time. So, like, that in and of itself is a big deal, and good that they had this and cleared things up. So we're tying up loose ends, you know? All right. And then Chet looks away because, you know, it's Chet. And then Big Nung's kind of left to kind of process what just happened, and then we start getting those award-winning hovering tears because, wow, what a huge weight was just lifted off of Big Nung. Like, she defeated the final boss, right? And it took months and months of persistence, but, like, she won. Like, she finally won the thing she was trying to get the whole time, which is, like, getting the trust of the family and getting them to accept Little Nung and Little Nung's decisions, and so that she can have her family intact. Like, that's what she wanted, and she finally got all that, and she ended up getting the acceptance of all the family members. Like, she beat the homophobic father. You know what I mean? Like, that's a big deal. And so she herself earned her place as, like, the insider when it comes to Little Nung's family again, by the way they're trusting her, talking to her, like, and basically this was Chet being like, I trust you with her kind of thing, is that he's also saying, like, as the father in the scenario, which, like, it's a win. This is a win for Big Nung, basically.
This is why Big Nung isn't the one playing video games, because she has to defeat so many levels in real life that it's exhausting.
It is exhausting, but she did it. She did it.
She did it. She
It was worth it, right? It was worth it.
the
She did
winner's
it.
circle.
It wasn't worth the car accident, but it was worth the persistence. Okay, so after Nung defeats Chet, we cut to a brand new day again, and now Sam's here to visit Big Nung in the hospital, and they're in the waiting room. And Sam brought Big Nung extra clothes because she basically moved into the hospital. So Little Nung got Big Nung to move into her room. So go Little Nung. She won, and she wasn't even there to, like, make it happen. So, like, that's kind of amazing. What a twist! I didn't see that coming.
I told you, Big Nung's becoming Little Nung.
She's becoming Little Nung. You're right. I love it. She's taking on the traits of her partner, and I do love that. But in all seriousness, like I keep saying, I'm sure she's staying in the hospital like 24/7, and that's what she wanted. But now that she has the trust of the family, she can freely do that, and I'm sure she, like, never leaves the hospital unless she absolutely has to. And it just took getting the trust of the family back for her to, like, achieve this. So things are going well for Big Nung. Now the missing piece of the puzzle is just Little Nung regaining consciousness and, like, fully recovering, right? And she tells Sam, like, well, you know, this feels like home now, because I guess she never leaves. And then Sam asks the dumbest question of all time, because it's Sam. Sam is a dumbass at the end of the day, and I do love her for that. And she says, oh, are you basically living here because Little Nug's here? Why did you have to ask her this? I was like, no, Sam, your sister off screen developed a really big interest in medicine just randomly and wants to be a doctor. Like, why do you think she's living at the hospital? Like, what a stupid question.
No, Sam, it's because she bought the hospital as an investment and used all the family money, so now she has to live here.
Right, this is the new palace. Sam's such a dumbass, I swear to God. I love
She's
her.
not fully observant, but she's empathetic and cares, so it's not exactly like Chet.
Right, no, Sam does not mean well. She's definitely trying to tease Nung, but I'm like, girl, this did not need to be said. All right, but through this dumbassery of Sam that I love, we get the admittance for Big Nueng, which is what we suspected all along. She's like, well, the reason I'm like literally living here, aside from the fact that we now own this hospital, say I'm surprised. And the other reason is that I need to be the first person in Little Nueng sees when she wakes up. Which like completely tracks with like everything we've seen with Big Nueng, right? She always has to like be the first one she sees when she comes out of school and things like that. So like makes sense, right?
But she's not in her room right now. What happens if she were to wake up at this current moment? She wouldn't be the first person she sees.
I mean,
Just
that
saying.
would count on somebody else being in the room with Little Nueng, and we'll find out there isn't anybody in the room. So, like, I mean, it's a gamble, right? She got to leave the room.
Well, a
sometime.
nurse could see her first
You're
too.
right. You're
Because she
right.
was upset by like all the people in the school saw her before.
You're right. I mean, Sam could have met her in the room. Well, I guess they're getting coffee right now. This is like a coffee break. No one's got to eat and like do stuff, you know. She could just be in the room 24/7. But you're right, technicality. So I guess we could have avoided what's about to happen if Nueng was just in the room.
Seriously. But it's cuter this way, so.
It is. I mean, she has to leave the room sometime. All right, and Sam's like, yeah, Nueng, I get it. And like fan fiction time. So let's say the roles were reversed and like Mon's in the hospital and like Sam is Nueng in this situation. Like, how would Sam handle Mon being in a coma for 3 months?
Okay, so here's the issue. There's Gap Sam and Blank Sam.
Okay.
I have both.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so Gap Sam. We're gonna start Gap Sam because that's a messy bitch.
But Gap Sam would also buy the hospital. If that's not already.
Let me just say my thing. It's
okay,
the first thing I say.
Oh, sorry, I didn't read it.
As you shouldn't. So Gap Sam. She would first buy the hospital because she thinks she can fix things with money first. Like that is the first thought she has. Then she would completely shut down, fire all the diversity employees. Kirk would keep pestering her that she can't fire everyone. Sam says whatever and leaves the office. Goes to the hospital where she had a suite built for a queen because she owns it now. Where Mon is laying, and Sam never goes back to the office.
She just lives there, like, she would move in, like, Nueng, yeah.
Yeah, so she doesn't set foot in the business again until Mon can. So, the business either has to file for bankruptcy due to lack of attention, or Kirk made the thing super successful because he brought someone in who actually shows up more than just to stare at cute employees.
Well, let's. I guess it would depend on like when Mon went into the hospital, because like if we're talking like end of Gap, like Mon was in charge of diversity. Like let's be real, diversity probably fucked if Mon went into a coma because she basically runs it at that point. Because like Sam doesn't work, so they're already in trouble. So yeah, Kirk would have to come in and like keep things going, like as Mon would do it, and like to your point, maybe he makes it better. And then when Mon wakes up, they're like, Mon, do you want diversity pop back or this hospital that's like somewhat successful? What do you want to run?
True. Then they just have like two businesses that Mon's trying to keep afloat.
Well, like they could also like give diversity pop to Kirk if they want to keep the hospital. So like just depends on what Mon wants because Sam doesn't care.
That's true. No, because she has Mon now. She doesn't need anything.
Mon is the actual business person. Sam is just the money lady.
Except a Nintendo Switch, apparently. But that brings us to the Blank Sam.
All right, Blank Sam. What does Blank Sam do?
Okay, so Blank Sam's a little more straightforward.
Yeah.
She would be very distraught and would basically take after Big Nueng here. She wouldn't leave and would be trying to do everything for Mon, like would not let anybody else do something. And Big Nueng has to bribe her with a Nintendo Switch to get her to focus on anything else for 5 minutes.
That would be really funny. Because Sam's not food motivated the way Nueng is. Like, Sam could probably get her out of the room and be like, I brought food. And Nueng would be like, okay, all right, I'll leave the room for the food. Because, like, it's probably when she got her out and she's like, Nueng, you want coffee and, like, pastries? And Nueng's like, all right, yeah, food. And that's probably how Sam got her out of the room to have this conversation.
I'm just picturing Big Nueng right now with the Nintendo Switch saying, you want to play
Sam.
Mario Kart?
Well, I don't know that Nueng would know that about Sam. She'd probably have to like call Jim and be like, Jim, what does Sam even do? Because like Nueng doesn't know. Like she doesn't know.
You might know Jim comes in and bribes her with Mario Kart.
Whiskey. Sam, I don't know what Sam does. Could you imagine? She brings Jim. That would be a mess. That would be really funny. I actually want that now. Sam, Nung, and Jim. Just give. I don't even know what the scene is. It just would be hilarious, whatever it is. Anyway, that'd be amazing. Okay, thank you for answering the fanfiction question. I agree. I think Sam would be a mess. Sam would do like Nung does, regardless of which Sam it is, where she wouldn't leave Mon's side ever. But she would cause more chaos because it's Sam, I think. Because she'd be upset Sam, and upset Sam's not super rational, so. Whereas like Nung
she
just
would try
like
to do all medical things for her,
right,
even
like
though
Sam would
she
be
has
the
no knowledge
doctor's
whatsoever.
she'd be a nightmare to have in the hospital because she would be like in the doctor's business constantly, whereas I think Nung is more like
She'd
reserved.
be like, I can do the blood draw for you.
Right, like it would be a mess to have Sam in the hospital.
They're like, no, you will kill her. We don't know how, but you would figure it out.
She'd be like, I'm your boss now, bitch. And they'd be like, okay, but still. Anyway, it would be
all the doctors would be like, are we allowed to sue our boss?
Right. Can we fire her somehow? Okay. So Sam, like Pigfa, reminds Big Nung, she's like, girl, you gotta take care of yourself. Like, this is real sweet, and I do understand, because Sam would absolutely do this. But you need to take care of yourself. And then Big Nung is naturally annoyed by her sister, and it's because it's like Big Nung. Like, this is like their classic banter of just like, oh my god, Sam, like you're being too much right now. So it's like Big Nung feels better, is the bottom line, because she's joking around with Sam, which is really good. She's like, oh god, you're nagging me again. Like, ugh. Go back to like just bringing me food and giving me a hug. That was better. But I imagine like Sam must periodically check up on Nung now because like after she witnessed Nung's giant breakdown at the Bua Palace, like I imagine she's just like peripherally hovering around Big Nung to like make sure she's eating, make sure she's like kind of taking care of herself. Sam might show up randomly and be like, hey Nung, you need some clothes. Like Sam could have just Big Nung maybe didn't call Sam. Sam just showed up and she's like, I noticed you haven't gone home in a month. Like you probably need clothes, like and like food and like so yeah, I'm sure that like she worries about like Big Nung because like Sam's the caretaker, and so like here she is like probably stepping into that role unasked by Big Nung because like she could empathize with Big Nung in this scenario too. I think it would be like, yeah, I get this, I would do it too, you know.
She also has hospital spies now.
Probably she probably bribes some of the nurses. Like let's be real, it's Sam. All right. Also, speaking of Mon, where is Mon? Also, where is Mon? Because like Big Nug asked, she's like, seriously, where's your other half? And Sam doesn't actually get to answer this, but we all know where Mon is. Mon is actually running Diversity Pop. Sam is just the money, the financiers. Mon is the actual brains of that operation. She's like, she's keeping the actual company going right now, Big Nug. She's the actual employee that does stuff.
While also single-handedly probably being HR.
Well, Noi is useless, so yes. I hope Mon's first act was to fire Noi, because Noi is useless as HR.
Or, you know, at least find Noi a different position that could work for her.
What the hell could Noi even do?
I don't know, Theora. You gotta work with her. Like, I don't open the door opener?
It could be the door opener, like does the elevator.
The bell
anyway,
the bell person. Bellhop.
The bellhop.
That's for a hotel, but
anyway, so Noi is getting fired off screen while that's what Mon's doing. So Sam doesn't answer the question, and while that's going on, the barista decides to crank up everyone's favorite radio station, and the DJ gives a titillating introduction and basically says, on today's episode, we have an age gap relationship that no one can accept. Dun dun dun. I wonder what's about to happen.
It sounds oddly similar to something we heard 3 months ago.
Yeah, weird. The DJ is like, I hope we don't get hung up on again. You better not put all your hope in that, DJ, because history is super about to repeat itself. Oh, also, one of our Patreon members, I think, confirmed that the radio DJ is the CEO of Nine Star. So, love that. Okay. So the DJ, okay, so then again, history is literally repeating itself because the DJ refers to this person calling in as Nong A, so like the younger person honorific A, which is basically the exact same alias Big Nung got when Big Nung was like first starting the story, but she was Kun A, and now we're getting. So it's kind of weird that we're kind of doing this again. So it's like it's setting up an actual parallel between these two calls. So then we now get, instead of Big Nung's point of view, we're gonna get Little Nung's point of view because she's the one calling. Instead of like get her dramatic ass, can't she just text Big Nung and be like, "Where are you? I'm awake." She had to go through all of this. Well, because and I wonder why, because I think that Little Nung's again, she was in the coma, so she's operating off the fact that like they weren't supposed to be talking. She doesn't know where Big Nung is. Like Big Nung
She
contacted
probably
her
has
through
no
the
idea where
radio.
she is.
Huh?
Like okay, I have it later, but like, does she know she was in a coma? Is she aware? Or is it
Probably
like
not.
nothing happened?
Probably not. I
She's
mean,
very confused.
right, yeah. So I think she's like operating off of the last thing that happened before she was unconscious. Because she probably doesn't know she's unconscious. Like you said, you don't know that you were in a coma for 3 months. You just like wake up and you're like, what the hell happened? Anyway, so then we get the parallel scene where she's doing the same thing. And when Little Nung starts talking, Big Nung like perks up at the voice, but it like seems like it takes her a minute to register like what's actually happening right now. Because it's been 3 months, to be fair to her, right? And I think when she does register, she kind of just sits there because she's like, I want to hear this the way Little Nug wanted to hear it. She's like, what was your point of view? Because these two never actually talked about their relationship, at least at the beginning. They just kind of like started having it. So this is a kind of brand new information a little bit from Big Nug's point of view. And I do love that during the Sam notices Big Nug's acting weird. She's like, Nug, what are you doing? And Nug completely leaves her unread because she's like hanging on every word coming out of Little Nug's mouth right now. So let's get into what she says. So Little Nung explains the first time she saw Big Nung, which is not something we've been privy to yet as the viewer. We just like jumped into their relationship with like Little Nung annoying Big Nung at the art stall as if she's done this before, right? So then we get like what happened the first time they met, right? And Little Nung describes that first meeting as like she feels like she was possessed. She couldn't take her eyes off Big Nung. I mean, yes. And then she thought to herself, this must be love. So, like, put a pin in that sentiment because, like, at the very end of the show, we do get their first meeting, and like, Yoko shows us like what that was like without saying anything. But like, this is what I'm describing, like what that actually felt like: possessed, couldn't look away, and like, I had a feeling that that she registered in that first moment as love, which is love at first sight was Little Nung's experience, basically. Which, like, yes, girl, we get it. Side note, what an ego boost for Big Nung to hear this. Not that she needs one, but like, wow, what a thing to learn for the first time.
She definitely doesn't need it, but she kind of does from Little Nung, because I think she does still need that reassurance in their relationship.
I agree. I think she definitely gets insecure, like, for sure. So yeah, especially after 3 months, like, shit happens. Like, what a nice thing to hear. And like, okay, let's listen to, okay, what were those words again? Love at first sight, possession. Like, that has to be a little. Who else would be this dramatic, right? So Big Nug's like, that's her, and then she like runs away, leaving Sam completely confused. Like, she's like, "Hi, Nung, things are going great. You all right?" And then her sister just runs away. And Sam's like, "What the hell, girl? I brought you all these damn clothes, and now you're like gonna leave them in the lobby? Like, I missed work for this." And it's like, "Girl, you missed work for a sandwich. What do you mean?"
Theora, you know she definitely forgot she even had work.
No, definitely.
But, like, also, did she not hear Big Nung repeating Nung? Like, she literally kept saying Nung.
It's also her name, so like Sam's maybe like, "Yeah, you're gonna start a sentence? Like, what are you doing?" Because sometimes like in the speaking, like
Yeah.
they say their name to refer to themselves. Like, I don't know. She's just like, "Sister, my sister's broken. I need a new one." Okay, so while Little Nug is explaining, she goes into the relationship the way Big Nug did when she first called. Big Nug makes the grand gesture of racing from the lobby to Little Nug's room. And we don't know what exactly floor she's on, but it's not the next floor up. It's many floors up, right? And poor Fi ended up having to do this whole thing because, of course, the elevator doesn't work. So she's like run upstairs, and like the boots she has on have heels. And like this poor woman ran up so many flights of stairs. You are dedicated to your craft, ma'am, is all I'm saying, and I'm so sorry you had
So
to do this
dedicated.
for the drama.
I
All
wonder
right,
how
so
annoying that was.
that must have been awful. for everybody, because like tight stairwell, she had to run up many flights of
Filming.
stairs. Like it just seems awful. Okay, so all right, here's a breakdown of what Little Nueng's side of the story is. So basically, she starts the story by admitting the age gap is 16 years, so she gets right to the point with that, and she mentions that like, you know, as a rule, she doesn't really talk to other people because she doesn't like it, which is something we've heard her express before. But she's like, I don't know why. Like, she's like, but like, I don't really usually talk to people, but like, boom, this feeling of love compelled me to basically keep bothering. And she uses the word bothering, which I love. Bothering Big Nueng, basically. And my favorite part is like Little Nueng is very honest on the phone. And she's like, well, she kept telling me to leave her alone, but I didn't. And I can only hope.
So honest.
And so honest. Like she's like, yeah, I was annoying the shit out of her, but I kept doing it because love. I'm like, girl, the audacity of this phone call. And I can only hope that Chet and Pigfa are listening to this so they can fully understand just how aggressive their daughter was. She was respectfully aggressive when it came to Big Nueng and super aggressive. It was just all her. Like Big Nueng's like, leave me alone. And then she's like, I did it. I ignored her.
But in a good way.
But in a cute way. Anyway, in a cute way. I was annoying as fuck. All right. Yeah, she's just brutally honest during this whole thing, which is on brand and just amazing. And she admits, like, yeah, it was great or whatever, but things got complicated because of everything that happens in 104. And if Chet was worried about all of Thailand knowing his business, family business from Big Nueng, Little Nueng left no rock unturned when her side of the story comes out. She's like, here's the rest of it. The actual, because Big Nueng was being polite. And Little Nueng's like, nope, here's all the fuckery that went down. Here's every detail.
Here's why there was so much issues with our relationship. But I want to see the faces of the radio people as they hear
seriously,
the story because the way that she throws it out is so nonchalant and like quick at them because it's just like one after another building
it's
on
104, the phone call, and everyone's like,
and it's just like they're probably like, what the hell? Didn't someone screen this?
right? Who fed this caller? For real, like yeah, for real. I wanted the live reaction of the radio host be like, and they're like, this can't be the worst part, and then it keeps going. God. It's 104 the
like
radio
there's
show.
more.
There's more. And then I love when Little Nueng tells the DJ, she's like, she's hot. Could you blame me? Like, like for all this nonsense? Like, she was hot. I don't know. And then also on top of that, this goddess of a woman told me she's never loved anybody ever before except me. So like, fuck that drama. Worth it. Little Nueng, no regrets. She was like, no regrets. It was all worth all the fuckery. It was all worth it for me. And then, unlike Big Nueng, Little Nueng brings up sex on the radio, basically, where she's like, Chet is for sure, if he's listening, having a heart attack somewhere because she says like, "Oh, we both crossed the line," which is a sex. She's bringing it up on the radio, and then like pivots hard into the fact that she's, when I was in the coma, like, did they know you were in a coma? Like, she just pivots to the coma and like with no context. And she's like, when I was in a coma, all I did was dream about her.
How long has she been awake to the fact that she knows she was in a freaking coma?
That's what I'm saying. Did a doctor find her?
Did she have her phone next to her and she looked at the date?
I was like, oh, fuck, what happened? I mean, she did. She's calling on her cell phone. So, like, wait a minute. Which also, like, was somebody keeping that charged?
Yeah, like that. And it was right next to that is another very interesting thing to think about. Also, is there something like on the machines that if someone were to wake up from a coma, you would know, or is it just like normal?
I don't know if there's dates on those machines. Like usually there isn't, unless they're hooked up to computers to like download the data. Because sometimes they are, depending.
No, I mean, like if she were to wake up, would there be like a monitor going off that she woke up, or can they not tell if she wakes up?
Oh, no. I mean, she wasn't attached to like anything that's reading brain function or anything. Like her vitals wouldn't change. No, it wouldn't register that she's suddenly awake. Those machines are just registering like her heart rate, probably blood pressure, and like her vitals were normal when she's in the coma, so like it's not going to register any kind of like change. That it alarms when it's too high or too low. So like when she's conscious, it's normal. So like it wouldn't register anything. And I was just thinking like if she looked at the machine, would she see a date? I don't know if there's actual dates or times on those
Well, it has
machines.
to be the phone at this point. I don't know how
Right.
she got the phone.
I assume they just left it in the room and somebody was keeping it charged, probably Big Nung.
But it has to be right next to her because she.
Yeah, I mean, she probably has like a little like nightstand or whatever.
Yeah, I just don't know why they
Big
would keep
Nung
it
we
right.
did see Big Nung bringing it to the room at the start of the hospital. It's just wild that it's still there after 3 months and charged so she could make the phone call. Like somebody was taking care of the phone off screen.
So like, well, we can't do too much for Little Nung, so let's do something for Little Nung's phone.
Yeah, right. But anyway, so Little Nung's like, oh, when I was in the coma, which again, like, how'd she do that? Maybe a doctor did come in and see her. I was like, hey, you've been in a coma. Like, so Big Nung might not have been the first person she saw. Like, a nurse came in and was like, what happened? Or like, oh, girl, you was in a coma. So, because like you wouldn't know that when you wake up. I guess maybe she assumed with the date, like you said. But like,
Hold on, it was like some underpaid nurse or
a
someone
nurse's aide
working
is
there, and
like,
they're like, it's a good thing you were asleep because like there
how
was
could a
so much shit
doctor
going on in this room.
miss
Like
your prayers
you didn't want
aloud?
to be awake for it.
She didn't. Let's be honest. She did not want to be awake for it. She would have made it worse, honestly, if they were trying to like, if Big Nose was
Yeah.
trying to like get the trust of the family. Little Dog would have made it worse. So it's kind of worked out, you know. But anyway, so it's interesting that she brings up the dreams and she's like, when I'm in the coma, I was just constantly having like dreams about her. So like Big Nung earlier in the fight with the family was like, well, sure, she's probably better off in her dreams than this fucking crazy reality you created for her. So like here's confirmation like Big Nung was actually right. Like it was like it wasn't so bad. I was dreaming about her the whole time. And then for some reason we get flashbacks. I guess this is from Big Nung's point of view. We get flashbacks of Big Nung taking care of Little Nung in the hospital, or maybe like Little Nung's subconscious registered in some of this. Okay, and then I noticed we get one of the flashbacks is of Big Nung reading blank the novel basically to Little Nung. And I noticed that like there's like underlining and circling in the book. Like somebody was underlining and circling stuff, and my question is like, who's the underliner? Is it Big Nung or Little Nung that was like doing that?
Big Nung.
Yeah,
Because I
I
feel
think
like she
Big.
was like really trying to understand things for Little Nung to be able to talk to her about it.
I feel like Big Nung is the margin writer because like I'm a lot like Big Nung and I like to do this in novels. I feel like Big Nung would be the one that does this.
Where Little Nung's just trying to get through the story and like read more.
No, not even that. I think Little Nung doesn't, because remember, she bought this book to read it to Big Nung. I feel like if Little Nung got to any kind of like anything that was interesting, she would just voice record it and send it to Big, or just go to Big Nung and be like, listen to this. Like, I feel like she wouldn't have time to do this. Big Nung is in her head and be like, I want to remember this for later, or like, just personality wise, I feel like she's the one that would be doing that. And it's Thai, so I don't know like what passage this was exactly, but I just thought the circling and the underlining seemed like a Big Nung trait to me. All right, so Little Nung finishes the story by clarifying for the entire world, my heart only belongs to her, and the fact that we're both women is irrelevant. And like, DJ, let me say something. And it's like, girl, she let you talk uninterrupted for like 5 whole minutes about this crazy story that is your life. And like, why are you asking permission for another? Just say it. Like, no one has stopped you up till this point.
Well, it's the same thing as, can I ask you a question?
What do you mean?
Like, you were asking somebody a question, but you're already asking questions, so you may as well just ask the question.
I guess that's true. It seemed pointless. But anyway, she's like, and Big Nung's rounding the corner of like the lobby of like the path to get to Little Nung's room at this point. And then Little Nung calls out her name and says like, Arnung, come see me now, I've woken up. You could have just called her directly. But anyway, as if on cue, Big Nung burst into the room when she's summoned over the radio by Little Nung. And just like Big Nung, Little Nung sees Big Nung in the room and she just ends the phone call and leaves the DJ unread.
But she doesn't end
she
the
just
call.
like puts
She
the phone
just
down.
puts her phone on the. I swear they're still there.
Ma'am.
And
Ma'am.
yeah, like, I'm pretty sure they were so that they're like, "Is she done?" And, like, they hear big they're like, "So do we keep it going because now that her love's in the room, like, can we get the ending to the story?"
But they're not talking when she gets in the room, like, Big and Little One don't talk for a while, so, like, I feel like they got bored of her. Is this common on this radio show for people to just end the call without, like, telling the DJ? Just, like, end the call?
Before we continue, I'm gonna say my next note now because as she's
Sure.
bursting in the room, I just would like to mention that while doing notes for this exact part, as soon as she burst into the room, Taylor Swift was singing, "Romeo Save Me, I've been feeling so alone," like, that, crescendo
Aw.
part.
I mean, yeah, she's a
It was
Romeo for
insane.
sure.
I was like, "Well, damn," like, it was while she was running and, like, going into the door, I'm like, "Well, this is perfect."
Finding a therapist should be easy. Like that YouTube ad. Things just
Oh
happen
my
with
god.
Plank. It's just magical. I don't know what to say. That is perfect, though. Okay. Now, okay, so at this point, like again, I'm always like, she could have just called her. Like, I wonder what Little Nung was thinking when she made this phone call. And we kind of talked about this a little bit. We got sidetracked, but okay, so what information is Little Nung operating off right now? Probably like nothing, because she like woke up, probably has no idea what's going on. She somehow put together she was in a coma, but like in relation to like where Big Nung is, like where Big Nung's at with everything, like I wonder if she called the radio show because she's like, I don't know where she is. I don't know if she's talking about family. I don't know what's. I wonder if she just did that because like the very last memory she has, if she like has her memories intact, which like with the traumatic brain injury, we don't know like what is actually the last thing she remembered. We remember her last moment before the coma, but like we don't know what her brain actually remembers because like her brain got traumatized by the fall or the car accident. So like assuming she remembers everything up until like the car accident, like the last thing she remembers is Big Nun calling her on the radio. So I wonder if like that's in her brain and that's why she like does the same thing versus like just calling Big Nun.
But why does she think that Big Nung was listening? Because, like, first of
I mean,
all,
she's like, if I was in a coma, I'd be stressed that you were. I would be listening to that radio nonstop because I'd be super stressed.
but it was just I feel like that's it was just so much had to line up right now for her to hear it because it wasn't even her listening to the radio. It was the barista, right?
Barista, yeah.
Yeah. Um,
It's a,
turning
a
up the
very
volume.
popular radio show though, so like apparently like everybody's listening to this all the time. So this is the hospital of coincidence. This is just what happens in storytelling. But I wonder from her point of view, she's just like, that's how she contacted me. I'm just going to contact her that way. Like, that was just what's. Because again, like I mentioned, on the road to recovery after a traumatic brain injury, her brain is still recovering at this point. She's not fully 100% there. So, like, to me, it kind of makes sense that, like, if that's what's in her brain, that's what she's going to do. Because, like, logic hasn't fully come back yet after the recovery. She's still recovering. It could take up to a year for her brain to function 100% again. So, kind of makes sense. And then we get this dramatic whole scene, right? So, Big Nong lingers in the doorway for a minute, like trying to catch her breath because the woman just ran up so many stairs. And like, remember, we had a whole scene where she was struggling to just jog a lap on flat ground. So this was a lot for her. Okay, like
It's a
in
lot.
heels, in boots with heels. So like, bravo, ma'am, you did a great job. You should go to the gym more, probably though. And then once she's in the room and sees Little Nung awake, she says her name. And I think this is when, like, again, the reality starts really sinking in for Big Nut because it's one thing to hear the radio thing and be like, it definitely sounds like her, but what if it's not? Oh my god, what how her brain spirals. But here's Little Nung like sitting up, staring at her, awake, like, and then Little Nung, being Little Nung, immediately demands a hug. So it's good to see that her personality is still intact after the TBI. So that's a good sign. She's cheeky as fuck immediately out of the coma. So that's good.
But could you imagine if she woke up with a different personality? Like season 3 spinoff? That would be wild.
That would be wild, and I don't want it. I'm glad she's the Little Nun. I don't want her to have a
No, I
different
would like I
personality.
like a different show that actually does that because I feel like that would be something really interesting to explore. like maybe you do get like a season of them together and then there's a coma and then they wake up and you basically have to start all over again and they don't end up together.
Isn't that basically the movie 50 First Dates?
I don't know, I've never seen it. But
I never saw it
no, I'm
either,
pretty
but I
sure.
think the premise is that like she
But I
has some
mean, yeah, she has basically I mean every day it like resets.
yeah, her brain resets kind of thing.
Um but I mean like the personality is so different that those two never actually end up together and she has to go explore herself and find someone new basically.
I don't want that
It's
story,
pretty
but
sad.
yeah, it
It's
would be
pretty sad.
interesting.
I told you I'm good at making things sad.
You made it worse. That's a no the series
You
because I don't
know I'm good at that.
anyway. So Little Nueng is Little Nueng,
Sometimes
and we
though.
get confirmation that her personality is intact, which is good. And then Little Nueng's like, hey, she's like, you need to come over to me for the hug because like I don't have any strength left. And again, this was the writing here and the acting of Little Nueng coming out of the coma was all very realistic because, like I said, she's not going to be 100% the moment she wakes up. Like she is still recovering, actively recovering. So I imagine like the phone call itself like took a lot of energy out of her because like you'd be like, oh, she was asleep. When you're in that, she's not really sleeping. Like her body is shut down because she's weaker than normal, and until she can recover enough for the body to sustain her to be awake, like she's still like gonna be tired. That takes a lot out of her body. So like this was all very realistic. And I like the way Yoko plays Little Nueng out of the coma because she still seems groggy to me and very weak. And it's like that is exactly how this would happen. Really, really. So they gaze stare for a minute because wow, like this is like the day has finally arrived, right? And then Big Nueng like gravitates to the bed essentially, and we've all been on the journey with Big Nueng for the past like 3 months, and we know she's feeling extremely relieved in this moment because A, Little Nueng's awake after many, many months, and like B, in her brain, she is the first person to see Little Nueng upon waking up, which we don't know because she knew about the coma. So like, we'll just go with it. We'll pretend for Big Nueng that is what happened. But what's going on in Little Nueng's brain right now? Like, what is her reaction to seeing Big Nueng after waking up? Like, again, with the assumption that her memory is fully intact, because like we don't know again, because like you can have degrees of amnesia, you can have a hard time remembering after you kind of come out of a coma like this, after a brain injury specifically, like operating off the fact that the last thing she remembers is like trying to get the taxi, right? Let's say she remembers all of that. That moment when she was trying to get the taxi to come see Big Nueng was this big moment of desperation for Little Nueng because I thought her life was ending because she was going to America. Big Nueng calls her out of the blue, and then she like fled that room with nothing but a cell phone just to get the hell out of there and go see Big Nueng. That was all desperation, like all of that. So the moment of the car accident, she was in a moment of desperation trying to get to Big Nueng. Okay. And now she's awake, and I assume that like perhaps some of that like desperation she was feeling, if her memories are coming, kind of that would be like the most recent memory. Like perhaps that like desperation was still kind of lingering from the memory, and desperation specifically to see Big Nueng, and then Big Nueng appears, right? And so I wonder if like she was feeling that initially, then Big Nueng shows up and like she like summoned her basically. She's like, get over here right now, and then she shows up like immediately. Like she's a witch. Like I don't know how she did it. So
She's a witch.
I imagine her feeling of relief in this moment is like 10 times whatever the hell Big Nueng's feeling, because like it's just like, wow, okay, they finally, because like her quest was just to get to see Big Nueng, and it took her 3 months to finally get there. Not that she knows that part, but like this is also a big relief for her because like that would be the last thing she basically would remember if she remembers everything, and like she made it. You know what I mean? In a way.
Yeah, that makes sense. The whole thing about comas is very interesting to me because it just seems so terrible. Like people waking up years later. And it just, yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
I mean
relevant right now.
she basically just lost 3 months of her life, basically. Okay, so like to add to this whole point, then Big Nueng is at the bed now and sits down next to Little Nueng, and then Little Nueng uses whatever little strength she has left to like sit up to like meet Big Nueng halfway if she like kind of sits down. So she's like, yeah, it's just that's how powerful like this moment is for her as well. But before Big Nueng even sits down, she like reaches out because again, physical touch, right? And she cradles Little Nueng's face, okay, and like Big Nung needs the physical touch to be like, this is real, but also like that's the most sacred part of the body, and so this is super intimate what she's doing, and that's Big Nung's headspace, right? This moment gets super intimate very quickly. And then Big Nung says her name again because like she's like doing all the things to be like this is real without saying oh my god this is real, right? And then pulls Little Nung in for like a hug. Okay, like finally they made it back to each other in like all the ways kind of thing, despite that separation that happened, the car accident, all that stuff. They've made it back to each other. This is the like puzzle pieces coming together moment kind of. So naturally, because it's a beautiful moment, we start getting award-winning hovering tears start happening because like this is like the pinnacle of all the emotions, right? And like the relief and all of those things. Okay, and while Big Nung's reaction is of course great, Little Nung's is the most precious to me because when it cuts to her, she's just smiling, like she's very happy, and then like basically buries her head in Nung's neck and like pulls her in even like Big Nung goes to like let her go and she like pulls her back and like holds her even closer. And for me, it's like Little Nung feels safe finally. Because remember, the act of desperation of like getting the taxi and getting out of there is because she felt unsafe, didn't feel like she felt hopeless, and like she made it home in a way, right? Because like her quest was to get home to see Big Nung to like be safe again, and like here it is, she got her safety, right? And this is really happening. This isn't dream Big Nung. This is actually Big Nung. She can like feel her. It's tangible. And it's like this big weight comes off of Little Nung too, right? Because like that's how she ended up in the coma was like trying to get to Big Nung. And she finally like quote made it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then when Big Nung pulls out of the hug, like they stare for like a whole second. Tears are happening. And she kisses Little Nung's forehead. And this kiss lasts for a while because it's like in this kiss, Big Nung is trying to like essentially pour every single ounce of love into this one kiss, basically. And to me, it reads as this like reverent, spiritual, holy, awe-filled kind of moment because while Big Nung's doing it, like her eyes are up towards the sky. And it just feels very powerful, like coming from Big Nung, right? Because like she made it home too, in a way. That's kind of like what this moment is, and I feel like it's just like this is gonna be a core memory for Big Nung. We don't get the slow mo, but I think it will be. And towards the end of the kiss, a new song starts playing, which is "You Are the One" in English, sung by Faye, the voice of an angel. Which I love that. What an upbeat, like, beautiful thing to like end it with. Something. Although Be My Boo started playing, I'd be like, damn. It's just so upbeat. This was like romantically upbeat. So it was like good for this moment. Like the music is like swelling kind of music. So like it's good for this. Okay. And then Little Nung tries to be her cheeky self and is like, I'm awake now, Big Nung. You're never getting rid of me again, which goes unspoken, but is heavily implied.
But my favorite part, like during this face holding thing, is that Big Nung like still can't really accept that this is real and she's awake. Because I mean she's been waiting 3 months for this now.
Yeah.
It is such a long time of just seeing the love of your life unconscious. So like she's just keep holding her face and like staring at her. And like Little Nung nods her head to tell her that she is real and that this is real. And it's adorable that she knows exactly what Big Nung's thinking right now and enough to reassure her that it's okay. Everything's okay right now.
Yeah, and then we transition from like Little Nung's feeling of desperation going away to like we get desperation from Big Nung, who when she's talking to Little Nung says basically like don't leave me ever again. And she doesn't let go of Little Nung's face. Like the first thing she did was she grabbed her face, sat on the bed. She is still holding her face. Like again, that reverent thing that she's doing. And this is like a plea, a beg, like a moment of desperation for Big Nung because, like, please stop disappearing. I can't, my heart can't take it. And Little Nung responds by like nodding enthusiastically. And again, it only took a horrific car accident and a 3-month coma for her to finally get everything she wanted. She's like, worth it.
Worth it.
Then they do the cute forehead touching thing that is obligatory in every piece of lesbian media ever. There's always a forehead touch, always. At least one.
And yeah, but no, that's like in any
Any.
country, it's you have to
Yeah,
do
it's
this.
universal. Yeah, there's always lesbians, forehead touching.
Yes.
So they do that. And then Big Nung pulls Little Nung into another hug, and just like we hear her sigh. Like it's an enormous sigh. Cause finally, like finally, like she doesn't have to live at the hospital. Well, she will live at the hospital. I mean, it's just like she doesn't live in fear anymore. It's like everything fell into place, kind of thing. Like what a moment of relief.
Yeah, and the way that she's holding her right now with her hand like really keeping her head close to her, it really parallels to that hug in 104 when she was holding Little Nung after finding out she was the reason Little Nung was almost not born. And now she's
Mm-hmm.
holding on to her for dear life because she almost lost her once again. Like this
Yeah.
is like don't even lift your head up, like I need you as close as possible to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Like what a great parallel. Super dramatic. I loved it. Very cute. I love that it was just a moment with the two of them also, like after all of this. Like they got a moment to themselves too. Before like the
Yeah.
doctors come running in, the family comes in. Like they get the moment to themselves to just be like be relieved and like have the weight lifted off of them after like the bullshit that and the bullshit that caused this whole thing, this whole accident to begin with, like I'm glad they
Yeah,
got
that's true. So if a doctor would have seen her awake and told her about the coma, wouldn't they have all been in there like doing tests and stuff?
I mean, at this point, what is there to do? Like they would have done
I
like a
don't know.
physical exam. I assume she gets blood work done in the morning pretty routinely. There's really nothing to do. She has to go to physical therapy now. They would do a physical exam and it would take like 5 minutes.
Okay.
There's really not much to do. They would probably make sure she can move all her limbs and like, yeah, they would do more physical tests than anything else.
Okay.
But there's really nothing to do. Like, I assume she's being imaged. Like, there's really nothing to
Yeah.
do. She just go to physical therapy now, basically. And they
Well,
would probably
speaking of
like,
physical therapy, we'll get there next time.
yeah, we will get there next time because yeah, that's part of the road to recovery. So that was the other third of episode 206. We're going to end it here so we can give the actual finale of this finale an epic conclusion. So, with
Actual
that,
finale.
what won the Big Gay Energy Award for you?
I'm like I was like, what happened in this part? Little Nun calling the radio station.
I mean, that definitely, and being like, yeah, so we had sex. Like, basically just being super honest about all of their shit on the radio was also hilarious. But also, for me, there's that, and then I want to give her the Big Gay Energy Award for the minute she sees Big Nun being like, come hug me, I can't move. Like, the way she's, like, bossing her around immediately out of the coma. Like, girl, so much Big Gay energy.
So
Immediately.
basically, Little
Bothering
Nun
Big
gets the
Nun.
Big Energy Award with only being conscious.
For like 5 seconds. Yeah. Well, also like honorable mention to Big Nun calling Little Nun sleepyhead because I just thought that was cute. Like teasing her when she's in the coma, which is fucking funny.
And Big Nun not leaving her side.
I mean,
Not that
yeah,
she would,
not that
but
she would.
yeah.
And I guess on somewhat honorable mention to Sam for trying to be a good sister. Even though Doug left her
Yeah,
like
but
that.
is it little? Is it
This
because
is
Little
all
Nun?
happening. This is all happening. Sam is still in the lobby with the clothes and the coffees, and she's like, "What the hell, no?" Like, Sam got left super unread for this romantic moment we're all enjoying with the dogs. Like, Sam's in the lobby, confused as fuck. Like, think about it. She was watching her, and she's like, "Where's she going?" Because she's like pressing buttons on the elevator. She's not waiting. She's running away. Like, what was Sam doing right now? Did Sam
Does she
like go? Maybe
go
I
to
should
the
follow.
emergency room?
I'm gonna call Mon. I don't know what to do. Mon, Nung ran away. What do I do? She's like, Sam, I'm in a meeting right now for your company. Call Jim. Oh my god, that would spiral out of control. And then Sam and her friends show up. Anyway, let's not go there because this will never end.
They would get
Okay.
kicked out.
They would definitely get kicked out. All right.
Taylor Swift songs.
Taylor Swift song. Well, you did
Love Story.
Love Story. Yeah, Love Story is a good one. I have one, but like, that I'd love to get into, but we don't have time right now, which is Daddy, I Love Him. That's a big Nueng, Little Nueng song, 100,000,000%. And I want to get into the lyrics.
Do that next time.
Yeah. I just wasn't sure how long this was going to be, so we'll do that next time because like it involves like Chet or like just basically like the family, and then like the winning over be like fuck the family. This is our lives.
I believe that's it. Oh no, it was My Boy Only Breaks His Favorite Toys. It was that? Because I don't think it was that one. Pooja gave a list of Taylor Swift songs.
Nice.
I think it was. Yeah, we see you. Obviously,
you
get a shout out in every episode now.
Every episode. Yeah.
Okay. Secret word for today.
Yes.
I've been thinking about this. Not too hard. It's not that great. But wait for the ending one. The ending word is just what? Anyway, today's word is consciousness. So use that in a comment or review. Please review. Or message us on social media using that word. I will be very confused on social media because we have no context whatsoever. But
it'd be great.
Yeah.
Can't wait. All right. Well, come along on the journey with us as we wrap up Blank the series. I never thought we'd get here, but we're getting there. So
we're getting there.
And keep it. Let us know what you want us to cover after Blank the series. We want to know what you guys are watching and what you want us to like dive into. The way we're diving into stuff like this, we cannot physically do everything because there's not enough time on Earth for that. But let us know what you'd like us to cover next, so we will definitely take that into consideration as we like figure out what we're gonna do next calendar year.
Mm-hmm.
So think about that. Let us know. And until next time. Hydrate for lesbian Jesus.
And gay it up all over the place.
Bye. And with that, we've been Big Gay Energy. If you like this episode, check out all our other episodes right here on YouTube.
Please like, leave a comment below, and subscribe for more amazing super gay content.